All right, I guess we get started. Okay, thank you everyone for coming tonight. I think we'll just start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I just want to direct everyone to the emergency exits. We have one right here in the back. We have a right behind you on the side, and all the way down at the end of the hall is an emergency exit. Hopefully we won't need to use it. Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to start with a review of the minutes for December 2025. Did everyone have a chance to review the minutes?
Yep.
Faye, are you okay with the minutes?
Yep.
All right.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
I'll abstain.
Oh, right, because you didn't...
I wasn't here.
All right. A motion passed. All right, great. The first item on the agenda, and that's why you're standing up.
Yeah,
You're the
I know.
first-
I was ready.
Okay. First item on the agenda is Garrido lot line adjustment. Oh, I wanted to make an announcement.
Go.
One second. Before you get started, Garrido, I just wanted to welcome our newest member, Eric Verhaef. Did I say that right? Verhaef?
Verhav, yeah.
Verhaef, sorry.
Thank you.
Eric Verhaef, thank you for participating and donating your time to the planning board. I think you'll find it invigorating and helpful. And I've already put Eric through our first initiation. We went out to the site and walked through the snow, so he passed, so we're good to go with Eric. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, appreciate it, glad to be here. So.
Welcome, Eric.
Okay, Faye.
I'm here to discuss historic preservation. I contacted SHPA, New York State Historic Preservation, and they did a survey, a study, and determined that there was nothing of historic value or significance on the property, and I gave the letter to the department. There was a request for an aquifer overlay. That's been added to the maps. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's it. Tonight I'm looking for final approval.
Okay.
This lot line, Eric, if you're not familiar, it's behind the log home. I wanted to add some of the property from the 14 Sunrise to the log home as part of my parking lot. Wouldn't be on the log home lot, would be on my lot. And that was an undersized lot. By adding the change of the lines, it makes the log home over an acre. My lot will be over an acre also. So it puts everything in compliance.
Right.
And it's not affecting anything, just moving lines.
Right.
So, is there anything else?
And
Did I
just so
cover
you
what
know,
you-
Eric, this is a phase two of a two-part project that
Right.
Faye's been proposing. She submitted a site plan application with us, which we approved recently.
Yep.
So now we're just doing the lot line realignment.
There's there's a discussion about, and also a covenant has been added to the log home, as well as Sunrise Drive, the lot where the house is being built. In the event that I sell the additional 8 acres between Key Bank and the log home, I will then put the sidewalks in.
Okay.
There's also, and Dan's going to give me the specs, in case there's central water or sewer, I will also provide utility easements for that, so that the properties can have water and sewer if it ever becomes feasible.
Right.
And I have no problem doing that.
Right. And that's important for our town center district.
Yes.
Where we
I
have
think
more
that was
multi-use.
it, right, sir?
Yep.
Thank you. So I'm looking for final approval tonight, if that's possible.
Okay. I'll just relay to Dan. Do you want to go over any other final comments you may have, or?
No, I prepared a draft resolution of approval for your consideration. I normally like to at least just run through some of the conditions that are associated with it. So on page 3, we have conditions there. I'll briefly go through these. Revising the plans per our January 2026 letter, remitting any outstanding application or escrow fees at the direction of the town finance department, providing legal descriptions and survey closure reports for the parcels for review and approval, submitting TP 584 and RP 5217 forms with proposed deeds for review by the town attorney, 15-foot wide utility easement, this is what we just talked about, for future water and sewer along Route 55, portion of the property. And then legal documents related to the utility easement to the satisfaction of the town attorney, and descriptions for town engineer review. And that easement would be filed concurrently with the plat at the Dutchess County Clerk's office. Signing a copy of the resolution to indicate familiarity with the provisions of the resolution. Building inspector shall verify there are no open permits or violations associated with the subject parcels. Placing concrete monuments and iron rods at the direction of the town engineer, so I'll work directly with the surveyor on that. Obtaining permission to file or whatever from the Dutchess County Department of Health. And then owner certification, once that's, once after the plan was last revised and then signed by the owner and the professionals, that they would provide us with the Mylars and the things that were needed in order for it to go to the point where it gets filed with the county clerk.
Who will be describing the easement? Will it be the town attorney, or am I responsible for that?
The surveyor.
The surveyor.
Your surveyor.
So
Yep.
I will work with the surveyor to get
Yep.
that, and as well as the description.
Yeah, that's the description, so it has to show on the plat and
Sure,
then.
and that'll
he'll
be on
give a
the plat
description.
plan.
Yep.
As well as the easements.
Yep.
Okay, and you've kind of just determined where they would be?
No, the lot lines are already shown.
No, for the
And
easements.
the easement was 15 foot along Route 55.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yep.
Okay,
The surveyor has to prepare meets and bounds description and
Yep. Of the
and a
easement.
map?
He already had the meets and bounds for the other lot lines so far already,
Okay,
so. But I always ask for a survey closure report to facilitate our review. So then I compare that to any description for the deeds and then compare that to the plat so that they all comport and then.
right. So, but we're just going to include that as a condition, because this
Yep.
is really just, this is not like discretionary information. This is, you're just checking to make sure it's done.
Right.
So, Fay, are you okay with these conditions?
yes, I am. Yeah, no problem.
All right.
Not at all.
Do any of my board members have any questions or comments at this
No,
point in time?
not at all.
Not at all.
All right. Well, I think we're prepared to move on this conditioned resolution. It seems that Dan had prepared it as per our request from the last meeting, so do I have a motion to grant conditioned approval, final approval?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Second. Discussion?
Nope.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, resolution passes.
If I may, Chairman, just for the record, can you just abstain because you are a member of the
Oh,
board?
I abstain.
Okay, thank you.
No problem, thank you. I recused myself from the very beginning.
I wasn't
But I
here.
get, that's okay. I'm recused.
All right, is there anything else with this application? I think we're good, right?
I guess, thank you very much, I appreciate everything.
You're welcome.
Onward and upward.
You're welcome.
One down.
Okay, next on the agenda is the Town Center Grove. So just remind us exactly where this is, and then if you could just give us a brief
Sure,
presentation.
good evening. I'm Mike Berta, architect for the applicant. We are on Town Center Boulevard. It's across from the rec fields.
Right, right. Okay. And you've been before us, I seem to remember this, and just excuse my brain, because...
If you forgive me, the engineer's been handling, this is my first appearance regarding this application here.
Okay.
So, they've been handling anything with this site, I believe. I think they have pretty much everything set. I'm not sure.
So this is the one near the library?
It's up the road from
It's right next to,
Up the road from Sparrow's Nest.
right next to Sparrow's Nest. All right. So you're here to show us the architecturals?
Correct.
Okay. All right, why don't you...
So the resolution that we prepared, based on the engineer's submittal, does not include architectural review. They were going to come back for this.
I see.
So, their submittal letter said that they didn't have the materials and everything ready. So, I don't know it's up to the board what you want to do.
Thank you.
All we did for this meeting was prepared a resolution based on the site plan and special use permit. And one of the conditions was to come back for formal architectural review of the signage, lighting, dumpster, structure. So it's
Unless I'm
either,
missing something, you have just this. What about all the other
Right, I
items?
see.
You don't have
You just
those
have
other
it.
items anyway, right?
I'm not involved in them.
All right. So, I mean, if the other items aren't there, it's still tabled.
Yeah, you have
isn't
to look at lighting, landscaping,
The
garbage.
garbage, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're reviewing it on, in our capacity as an architectural review board.
Yeah, so you have to forgive me. I haven't been privy to the ongoings of the previous meetings. And my conversation today was that I was coming here to present the architectural, show you the samples, and then let them know if you did the resolution. So it kind of got me
No,
a
that's
little
great.
off guard
No,
here.
and my apologies, because I got confused, because I'm used to you being here for other reasons, and you're here on behalf of,
Well, this is
this
kind
project.
of, this is kind of abnormal for me. Usually usually I'm involved more in the site.
Do you have samples of the siding and the shingles and that sort of thing?
Shingle, I do not. It's just their standard
Timberline.
black GAF, asphalt shingle. I have copies of this. I asked them for individual samples. They sent me a sample book. So,
okay.
I can,
So what is the siding?
it's a fiber cement.
Is that like hardy plank?
Yeah, so.
And what's the black? Is that,
That is an AZAC. That's AZAC product here, and that's the color. Because it has to be painted.
Oh, I
It only
see.
comes in white or gray. So
Okay.
that's the color.
and that's going to get painted? No?
Yeah.
Oh, good. It's not going to be that,
No, it's this color here.
oh,
Unfortunately, when you print it like that, you're at the mercy of the printer.
Yeah,
So that's, here's the main, here's the blue, which is this color here, and then here's the gray. So there's two different types of materials. We have the vertical siding, and then we have a shingle siding. The vertical siding will be the bayberry
yeah, I see.
color, which is this here. You see these elements here?
that's going to be bayberry, not
Yeah.
this color.
Right, that color you have there, that's the trim panel here.
I see, okay.
All right.
And this
And
is
then-
the other color.
No, that's a piece, that's a sample of the AZAC.
I see.
That's this material that'll be here, but it'll be that color,
Uh-huh.
okay? And then the pearl that you have there is gonna be the shingle color, which is in here. And then, I
That's
don't
a
have this
big part
color,
of the
but I can
building.
show you. Anywhere you see shingle here will be the gray,
Okay,
okay? And then the vertical here will be the bayberry.
you mean
Blueberry.
Booth Bay.
Booth bay,
Booth
sorry.
Bay?
That's why I was like,
Yeah.
what is?
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's right.
They changed colors on me when I got the sample, they changed color names on me,
Oh,
so sorry about
This
that.
this is the blue.
yeah,
The gray is that other one.
So wherever there's a
And that's the
shingle,
material
what you see
over
here will be the pearl gray,
that's right.
and then we're using the boothberry as an accent panel.
Yeah.
just to give it a little bit of breakup and to give it a little bit of color instead of just being a, I don't, the darker colors are nice in accent, but as the entire building, I just didn't think it would look very good. And then having a light color, being that close to the road, I thought it'd be nice to have it broken up.
Gotcha.
I like
And
the windows.
Why did you go with vertical siding for those accents and then the, what do you call it, shingle for the other?
I like the concept because it gives it an older style as a, like a board and batten barn style look.
Right, right.
So instead of going with the, your typical horizontal siding with the shingle, I'm going more for, old barn style,
Yeah,
with the vertical.
right. I like that you're painting the AZEK too. I used AZEK on my house and we kept it white and I think that,
And all the nail
It
pops,
would've been
all the
much-
nails are showing, aren't they?
yeah, I think it would look a lot nicer with that sort of painted gray like you're showing it.
How often would you have to paint it?
We're using, AZEK has a pro paint technology and they guarantee it for 20 years.
All right, so what about the roof? What are we doing there?
It's a slate gray asphalt shingle.
Straight, flat, architectural, what kind is it?
It's a architectural grade, so it'll have a texture to it. It's, I hate to say it, but it's your typical, 30 or now they call them lifetime shingles that they put out.
Yeah, right. All right. Do you guys have any other questions?
I think we need to handle the light, the landscaping, the other, maybe we'll do it all at once. I mean, I'm fine with that. I mean, that's great, but there's more to it.
So the Architectural Review Board is charged with the light fixtures.
Right.
We've already reviewed those in the past as the site plan has gone on for photometrics, and I think you did it for
Did
looks
we?
as well.
Did we
Yeah,
do it? Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, we
And-
talked about the garbage too, I think.
Yep, the garbage enclosure last month, you mentioned about a split face block as opposed to
Right.
what was proposed. They were gonna paint the concrete masonry unit, and now they talked about a split face, which they added into their plan for the site plan part. And so you've got the lighting, landscape, I'm sorry, not landscape, lighting, dumpster, building. So if you're happy with the building, I mean, what we are told in the applicant's submittal letter is that they weren't going to be doing the architectural yet. So I'm a little off right now, because what we prepared was a resolution for just site plan and special use permit, and then come back to us before building permit for the architectural. So if you're happy with this, that's fine. I'd have to prepare a different resolution for that. We could still move forward with the resolution on the site plan and special use permit if you want.
And then approve another
and then
separate.
Yeah, do the
resolution?
separate thing for the
Separate for-
architecture later when it's fully complete.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
don't we have to do landscaping, or do we do that?
That was already done. You
Okay,
guys have
so we
looked at
got
that.
everything except
Yeah.
this done.
Yep.
It sounds like we've reviewed everything.
Right.
Once we've reviewed this, but we're not prepared to vote on a resolution for the architectural part. We can vote on the site
Right.
plan part first,
And then
and then next month we can approve the architectural.
Right,
Once
and
we
then we can get a
prepare it.
formal submittal, and then that way we can incorporate the elements that are shown into the resolution to
Perfect.
memorialize
Do
it.
you have a problem with that? No. Good.
No, I mean, it's not like we're gonna start construction tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I think it's a very beautiful building. I
Yes,
like
it
the
is.
Thank
the
you.
design, I like the color choices you're making. I like the fact that it's a tall roof. I think that's creates character in the neighborhood. So I don't have any issues with these design elements you're picking, so.
I'm
Thank you.
sorry, the one thing I forgot was the sign also. The monument sign was supposed to be approved by the board as well.
Okay, and have we reviewed, we haven't reviewed that.
No, they didn't have a detail for it.
All right, so why don't you come back next month with the monument sign?
Okay.
And this we've reviewed already. I mean, you could just remind us about it next month, but.
Sure.
And then Do we want to take action? Are we prepared to take action on the resolution? We requested this resolution, right?
We did.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So can you take us through the provisions again, Dan?
Sure. The conditions that are associated with this draft resolution start on the bottom of page 5. It's conditions for prior to signing of the site plan by the chair. So, standard addressing the remaining comments from the town engineer's review letter dated January 14th, 2026. Providing proof of health department approval for the arrangements of water supply and sewage disposal. Utility easement in form, substance, and manner of execution to the satisfaction of the town attorney, including meets and bounds description of the easement area to the satisfaction of the town engineer. Submit payment of any outstanding escrow fee to the planning, as part of the planning board process, as directed by the town finance department. Submitting payment of any outstanding site plan or special use permit fees as determined by the town finance department. Remitting a recreation fee associated with the multifamily development, the amount of $20,000 total. It's calculated as $5,000 per unit for the 4 new rental units. That's in accordance with Section 155-36.2B7 of the town code. The applicant shall sign a copy of this resolution and file it with the planning board for the purpose of indicating familiarity with the provisions of the resolution and acknowledging receipt of a copy hereof. Then there's additional conditions that were prior to the issuance of the building permit. So we basically set this up so that this could happen at some date. I just wasn't expecting it tonight. But, so applicant shall obtain planning board approval as de facto architectural review board for architectural design approval related to the structure, signage, lighting, and refuse enclosure. Providing a construction cost estimate to the town engineer for review to establish an appropriate amount for the performance bond and inspection fee, 4% of that performance bond amount. And a related performance bond guarantee shall be prepared and formed to the satisfaction of the town attorney. Then the applicant shall establish a performance bond, pay the inspection fee, and execute the performance guarantee to the satisfaction of the town attorney and the town engineer with formal acceptance of the same by the Beekman Town Board. And then the applicant shall install a tree protection fence and construction fence delineating the limits of disturbance to the satisfaction of the town engineer. That was actually a comment you made, Rob, a couple months ago.
Yep.
Because the limits of disturbance are very close to 1 acre. And if they were to go over the 1 acre, then they would have needed a stormwater pollution prevention plan and different stormwater management practices and design. So,
And we want the inspection to be tangible, and having that fence up will make it easier for.
right, so before they do anything, they'll have that out there, and then we can go out and check it and make sure it's there.
Great.
And then there's a couple of other conditions prior to the issuance of certificate of occupancy, submitting an as-built plan showing the site improvements, permit inspection of the site by the building inspector and the town engineer and any planning board members that may wish to attend, and then remediating code violations if any exist as stipulated by the building inspector. So
How
those
far
are-
along are you with as far as comments with your letter?
There weren't many left at all.
Okay.
Yeah, we were narrowing it down.
We've been reviewing this for over a year now.
Oh, I know, that's why.
Yeah.
The comment letter is typically extensive, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, sure.
And on the architectural, only thing outstanding now is the signage, right?
Just the signage we haven't.
That's the only thing
reviewed.
that's still left.
Yeah, so we'll review that. If they
Yeah.
choose to come back next month, we'll review it next month.
Yeah, well, we can come back next month for that. That's no problem.
The deadline is the 2nd? Is it March 2nd?
Okay.
So yeah, March 2nd, if you can have, what you presented tonight. I don't need sample materials for the file, but at least,
Yeah.
delineate them out, the colors, the materials on the plans.
They're called out. They're already called out.
And then, for the sign, Brian's office has a partial monument detail, so I don't know if you want to work with him
Yeah,
directly.
I'll work with them to work something, to do something nice.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, well, my opinion is we've done a comprehensive review of the project. They've met all of our comments and issues and concerns, excluding the conditions that that will be covered in the conditional resolution. So I'm prepared to move forward. Are you guys prepared to move forward?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so can I get a motion for conditional approval?
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously approved. And we'll see you next month.
Sounds good. Do you want to hold on to the samples, or?
No.
No, you can take it.
Take it.
All right, yeah, great. Thanks. If you give me the
Well, do you need
details, I'll
those
build
to-
it somewhere else.
Do you need those to resubmit?
No, I'm gonna make more copies. I'm gonna make more copies.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mike. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Oh, what did I do with my, here it is. Next on the agenda is Clove Meadows. And please, speak into the mic as close as you can, because we've gotten some concerns from residents saying they can't hear. Some people's voices project well, some people's voices don't project, so just speak into the mic if you would. So if you wouldn't mind, of course, mention who you are, tell us why you're here today, and for the benefit of our new member, could you give us a brief presentation on your project?
Sure.
And then let us know what the status is, where we're at.
Yep. My name is Matt Town. I'm the engineer for the applicant. This is a 13-lot subdivision on a 23-acre parcel in the R45 zone at 327 Hines Road. They're all going to be single-family homes. Each will have its own wastewater disposal system and water supply well. We have approval from the health department for everything. The lots are going to range in size from 1.04 to 3.18 acres. There's a town road involved. It's 24 feet wide and a 50-foot right-of-way. It's 1,000 feet in length. There's a cul-de-sac at the end. That was designed in accordance with New York State Code. So at the previous meeting, the project was granted a negative declaration for environmental impacts, and preliminary approval was granted. So we're going for final approval now. We addressed the comments in the engineer's letter. For the most part, there's some minor remaining ones. We submitted a lot of the legal documents that are going to be required as part of the final approval, including the offer of cession, easement documents, lot deeds with plot plans and maintenance for each of those. We submitted a map plan and report, cost estimate for the performance bond for the road. We got approval from the highway superintendent for, there's a couple limited site distance signs that are going to be needed. We show monuments and boundary evidence now on the plans per the final approval section of the code. So one of the main questions is there are 5 trees that need to be removed prior to the March 31st deadline for cutting trees due to Indiana bat, or it's northern long ear Indiana, I can't remember which one. But yeah, so we're hoping to cut those trees. A plan was prepared showing that. We're hoping that we can cut those so that work can commence on this this year. And we would just need to remove those trees now. So that's one of the asks tonight.
And this is in additional trees. These are trees we were aware of, you've presented to us before.
Yeah, they've been shown as being removed.
Where are they on that map? Just so Eric.
Right on top, Rob, the color one right there.
Right.
Oh,
We're around the cul-de-sac.
oh, yes. Oh, I remember that. So Eric could see that.
Right.
Generally, the site's open field, but there's that one line of trees that the road cuts through at the end, so.
Right.
Now, this plan did show a lot more red ones on some of the lots. Was it just the ones that, in the road that you're looking to do now? And then-
Yeah, we're just looking,
Okay.
we just want to be able to start working on the road this year. And this pond as a stormwater management sediment trap, and this one also, there weren't any trees over there that needed to be cut.
So just with a recent development slash error, if you will, and everything, we had a group come in and whack out a whole bunch of trees. So what's the control plan?
Yeah, so it's going to be 5. I was going to say I can go out and mark them in the field and coordinate with Dan, and, someone from your office can come out, we can verify it's only going to be these, I can certify that. Yeah,
Just wanna make sure.
I understand, I'm
I mean, I'd be
aware
happy to
of.
go to the site with a planning board member or two,
Sure.
anyway,
That's fine.
and
Just-
then, if you want to mark them out, I'd be happy to do that too. Seems reasonable, because it's, in
It's a little
some
more
theories,
controlled, yeah.
this wasn't, the situation that
The
you're
other one,
talking about,
yeah.
obviously, a little bit different, that being that this is all open. But,
Right.
Okay.
Did we have a public hearing? Can you remind me? We've already had
Yes.
that, right?
yes, we did.
Okay. This isn't a public hearing. You can submit comments if you'd like. If you have just a quick little question.
Just a quick question. We closed on the property neighboring it in September, 239 Hines Road, and I was only able to go to the public hearing. So my question is, was the matter of water on the back end of that property addressed, and where the excess water is? Because we've walked the property extensively, and on the lower portion of our property, which borders right where that watery area is, we don't want additional water coming onto the property. What is the guarantee that we will not see any additional water coming onto our property?
All right, I'll let the engineer answer that question.
Sure, yeah, so he's talking about the property that has this New York State DEC wetland on it. So water from Hines Road is making its way through this site. There's a ditch, it goes to the pond, and then this ditch continues through the town-regulated wetlands, the NRI wetlands, and it goes down here. We've got buffer all along the stream that feeds into that wetland. So that's where water's going right now, that's where it's been going.
Pre-construction.
So, yeah, so we're proposing...
Can you just tilt the map towards him so he can, if you don't mind? There you go.
Yeah, so here's your property, this is a DEC wetland on your property, and this is the stream. It starts up here, it goes across Hines Road, through the site, and it goes all the way to that DEC wetland. So we're proposing, that's the whole purpose of this, well, one of the purposes of the stormwater pollution prevention plan is to keep post-development flow rates at or below pre-development flow rates, which we've done. We've met all the standards New York State DEC has. So,
Because we walked the property even through this whole winter season. There's no water coming across the property. There is a little pond there, but you can literally walk it and there's not like a swampy, because we're eventually going to be putting in a road, proposing from the DEC to get a road put in. There was originally a proposal down at that end of the property.
If you'd like to speak with our engineer or with the applicant after the meeting, we're really not supposed to allow for public comment during, but I appreciate your comment. It's a good comment. We do want to, one thing the planning board does is to try to ensure that there'll be no impact to neighboring residences. These are the questions we did ask at the time, not just for stormwater, but for, the visual aesthetics, the tree issues. We ask all those questions. We are very sensitive to the concerns of neighboring residents.
So is tonight the final approval, or is this like written in stone at this point?
We're getting close to the final conditioned approval, correct.
And what could stop it then?
We can vote no, I suppose.
Yeah, so I'd like to get more information on solid engineering reports concerned about the flow and how they're going to design that runoff if there is.
Again, this is not a public hearing. We can't have we have other applicants behind, and so we can't entertain a conversation with the public. We usually reserve that for the time when we have a public hearing. I'm sorry you weren't able to be there. You should feel free to send a letter to us. We'll relay it to the applicant.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And just one last note. So what I said were streams flowing from the pond down to the wetland on your property, they're not flowing all the time. They're essentially ditches most of the time.
And that's what I'm concerned about, when there is an increase, which we do have, these days, we do have excessive runoff, and it is extreme weather conditions. Will I see a huge increase in flow?
I definitely understand your concern. It's a valid concern. We have that with most our subdivisions. I have that with my property when the development occurred next to us. This applicant has demonstrated to us, not just through visually on a drawing, but through engineering analysis, that the stormwater runoff will not increase post-construction. Now, if there's any runoff that's occurring pre-construction, they're not compelled to deal with that. If you have a stream that runs from your neighbor into your property, that stream will continue to run through your property. But what New York State law requires is that the development doesn't increase the amount of runoff. And he has demonstrated that, and we have a town engineer that reviews those engineering reports to ensure compliance with those laws.
They did that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, so at this moment, I'll turn it over to Dan if you want to go over any comments.
Yeah, no, they had a very comprehensive plan prepared at the point when preliminary approval was granted in September. There really weren't a whole lot of additional things they had to add to the plan to meet 130-25, which is our final subdivision code, so we only have one extra new comment on that. They've managed to take care of a couple of those other comments that were outstanding. One of the things that the board is charged with here, this isn't just a subdivision application. They do have a water resource permit here, so if you recall, when we had the planning board public hearing, it also incorporated the water resource permit component during the same concurrent public hearing. The board is supposed to go through the standards associated with that. So 155-52I goes through the standards of the water resource permit. And Matt has provided a response to each of those in his response letter. So the board really should go through those standards and analyze them and make sure that they're comfortable with the responses and the plans, the things that they've done with the plans to reduce in as much as possible the impact to the water resources. So that's one thing. We already talked a little bit about the tree removal in advance of the final approval, and then the next step would also be for us to consider drafting a resolution for your consideration in the future. So,
Should we go through each one of them individually?
the way the code's written is, those are the standards that the planning board is supposed to analyze. So, similar to what we do with the aquifer overlay,
Right.
steep slopes protection ordinances, you have to take a bit of a hard look at them and make sure that you're comfortable with them.
Which page is that, Dan, do you know, or this is on his cover
It's on
letter?
this
Starts on
letter.
3.
It starts on.
Page 3.
Page 3. Okay.
And he has answered each of the questions?
Right, so there's a number of standards, obviously, as you can see. It goes A through, what do we got here?
I got a number of
Goes through K.
Yep, A through K, and then K has a couple of sub standards as well.
All right, well, why don't I do this? Why don't I just guide us through this process?
Right.
We'll go one by one, but this is regarding section 155-52. the impact of proposed activity and existing reasonable anticipated similar activities upon neighboring land uses and wetland functions. So your response was infilling of a wetland or other modification. It's broken down into A, B, and C. And regarding infilling of, or the potential for infilling of a wetland or other modifications of natural topographic contours, do you want to just summarize that for us? Might sound better coming from you. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Mr. Chairman, just for my knowledge, these are, the planning board's supposed to address these?
Okay.
So what I see is the applicant's response to these questions, but really it should be the planning board that addresses each one and provides comments if they have them.
Okay.
In addition to his response.
If you've reviewed his comments and you agree with them, you may want to adopt them. However, typically for addressing, even if you look to like a variance, when a zoning board reviews a variance, they address each of the 5 factors. The planning board should go through and address each of the 5 factors. And it could be as simple as, we've reviewed the plans and we see that the plans comply with this factor or sub-factor.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. Do you guys want to go through it one by one? Have you reviewed it? Do you want to just, are you okay with moving forward? Are you okay with the responses? Or do you want to just sort of go over this one by one?
I mean, I gotta be honest, I didn't go through piece by piece, so.
And I'm not sure I'm capable of analyzing them,
Right.
honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all good language.
No,
I
they-
have-
And that's part of the reason why I normally ask the applicant, hey, help the planning board understand and be able to consider these standards by providing them with some information. It's similar to what Michael said with a variance application, people shouldn't just say yes or no, they should explain it. So I always encourage the applicants to explain it, show how you've done through either good design or mitigation, how you've avoided things. If it was unavoidable, what did you do to minimize it? All those things. So that's kind of what he's done here.
And we have to rely on his statements.
Well, yeah, but
Obviously.
you also have, you've had a chance to look at the
Right,
plans
right.
and if you,
Disagree.
obviously, we've had a number of conversations on this project already to date. And he justified why he put the road where he put the road, why he has the stormwater where he put the stormwater, and all those things along the course of the project review. But this is just a technical step that our code requires that you go through the standards.
Right.
So some of these are pretty straightforward. I mean, are you infilling the wetland areas? No. Are you disturbing wetland fauna or flora, I'm sorry? Removal or disturbing of wetland, obviously they're not. These are maintaining a buffer. So some of them are pretty straightforward. I think the water circulation one, I probably want a little bit more. Personally, letter F, I'd want a little bit more. There's no disturbance to the wetlands, no interference with wetland water circulation. Runoff from the site will be treated by stormwater management practices, which is what he just mentioned, prior to being discharged to the on-site wetlands via existing intermittent stream. So, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, but a lot of these items that are being checked off are basically the engineer ratifying their stormwater management plan or their areas of disturbance or all the above, right?
Right, I mean, he has a small portion of disturbance to a town-regulated buffer. No actual wetland disturbance is associated with the project. And the one you were just reading also goes towards, are you blocking flow that feeds a wetland? Which could damage the wetland as well. So, that's kind of, all of his design points end up discharging back into there so that the water continues to go where it's going naturally.
So for the one, again, just stop me if you ain't got it.
Sure, no, go
So it
ahead.
says, damaging thermal changes in wetland water supply, initial first flush of runoff from impervious surfaces, which has the potential to increase the temperature and receiving water is being filtered through bioretention areas and retained in stormwater ponds,
which will allow for the reduction of site runoff temperatures prior to discharge. How would that increase temperature? I'm just actually curious.
Well, so, I mean, like pavement would be warmer at
Oh, yeah,
first,
okay,
and the
so
initial
for-
slush would capture that, and it would cool it down.
Okay.
Essentially, is
And a lot of the filtration practices that we use now for stormwater, as opposed to the old big end of the pipe pond, don't allow the sun just to keep beating on it. It actually runs through and filters through soil, and, you know, that's going through 5-6 feet of soil in some areas. So, you know, the soil that's down there is already cooler as well, so it's helping reduce
that
that
makes sense.
thermal impact.
I think the problem you try to avoid is you build a big parking lot just for example, you're having stormwater runoff, that runoff goes directly into a stream, and it immediately warms up that stream.
Yep, no, that makes
And
sense.
that causes a big problem with the environment. But he's got a lot of pre-treatment measures before it gets to this sensitive environment, wetlands or streams. Influx of toxic chemicals, I don't have an issue with that because this is just a residential construction. We're not building a factory or something. Initial first flush, we just talked about that.
Aesthetic values, that was the natural aesthetic values. The areas of disturbance contain common grasses found in the meadows, which will be re-vegetated with similar grasses in accordance with the erosion sediment control plan. There's no proposed disturbance to the existing wetland area. So we've gone through extensively, that was 4 to 5.
Yeah.
We went extensively through the landscaping, and that all planting with the trees and everything.
Yep. Impact of proposed activity and reasonably anticipated similar activities upon flood flows, flood storage, storm barriers, water quality, and shoreline protection. The project site is not near any FEMA-designated flood areas. All wetland areas remain undisturbed, with minor disturbances to the intermittent stream buffer. All stormwater runoff from the site will be treated and released in accordance with New York State DEC requirements. There's no change at the site to potential flood flows. It's not really a lot of impervious surface when you think about it for the entire site.
Right, you
It's
just have the road.
There's the road, the houses, and there's a lot of room between them and the actual stream for the water to infiltrate. Adequacy of water supply and waste disposal for proposed use. I tend to rely on the Department of Health. They do a very extensive, comprehensive review regarding the water supply and waste disposal, so I have faith in their decision. They've approved the project, they've reviewed the project. Compliance with state, county, and local comprehensive land use plans, policies. Our current zoning ordinance, this meets our zoning ordinance, right? We didn't go for a variance for area, we didn't do any area variance, right? It's a residentially zoned district, and these lots are sized as per our zoning ordinance, so
Yep.
I don't think there's any violation there. Do we have any other considerations we want to consider for water resources? The action appears to be a type 1. Planning board should neglect the previous meeting. Okay.
I'll speak for myself. I mean, after going through those and looking at it, I don't have any issues with those items. You know, the responses given are pretty straightforward.
Okay, thanks.
I agree.
Faye, do you,
I'm good.
are any of these, did you want to discuss?
No, I'm fine.
All right, I concur. I think we're good with the responses and the justifications provided for how they meet our standards for water resources. We need to take a vote on that, or?
I'm not familiar with the exact provision in the code, Mr. Chairman. Did these typically get adopted in a separate resolution?
We normally incorporate it into one.
Into the resolution.
Consolidated resolution.
So that it would just be
So
approved as part of the final
Similar
resolution?
to aquifer overlay, we normally have you vote on it, because, you know, you are charged with reviewing those standards and making sure that you're
If you're-
satisfied with them, so.
If you're incorporating it into the resolution, then that's where we'll vote on it, right?
Normally, what I'll include in I would say, at the February 19th, 2026 meeting, the planning board went through the standards for the blah, 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 and, unanimously or 4-0, 4-1, whatever it ends up being, I'll put that in the resolution on how you voted on it, and then that normally at that point would be a whereas clause, and then the resolution as compiled is really the final subdivision approval.
So if,
So I could do it either way. We could either wait until the resolution is there and you can do it that
can I
night.
just see the
or-
resolution, Mr. Chairman?
I mean, if that's the prior practice, there should probably be consistency in which you
Yeah.
would vote tonight that it satisfies the requirements of the permit, and you would vote to approve the permit.
I mean, we've done it with aquifer overlay, we normally take a vote on that one.
Yep.
Yeah, then I would say you should vote.
Okay, so it would be a vote on approving the water resource standards?
And water
The
resource
Standards
permit.
for
Water resource
resource
permit.
permit.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the water resource permit. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We approved it, so I guess you'll put it in the resolution when we prepare a resolution.
We need to make a motion to have you make that resolution, Dan?
We have been, yeah, that's been the practice recently, so.
All right, so I'll make a motion to authorize the town engineer to prepare a draft resolution for conditional final subdivision approval for future consideration.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Faye?
I'm sorry, aye. I would want to-
Unanimously approved. Question, Dan, regarding some details. I know I don't usually ask this, but I might as well ask. The pavement section for the road, did they meet the standards of our subdivision ordinance?
Yes, we've had a pretty standard detail that's been associated with most subdivisions recently. Our code doesn't actually have a section in it in the code, but it's one that's been used on all the recent subdivisions with new roads, and the highway superintendent has reviewed this application as well and provided a conceptual approval of the layout, so.
All right, so it meets the pavement width guidelines, the pavement thickness, and any drainage improvements that are needed.
Do we need to vote on the tree removal, those 5 trees?
Oh,
No, I
that's-
mean,
okay.
I don't necessarily think that it's in our code that you would need to make a decision on it. I think it would be a guidance, I don't know.
So there's also another attorney who's conflict counsel who's
Correct.
been working this. So I only familiarized myself with this earlier. You should probably consult the other attorney to determine whether or not there needs to be any subsequent action. Just more knowledgeable about the project. Shane Egan, I believe his name is. Yeah, so I would consult him first, and then two, I believe there's going to be a site walk. The gentleman's going to identify the trees. I'm not familiar with all the requirements. I think it's 12 inches or greater, probably requires a tree removal permit. But sometimes you see as low as 8 inches or greater, so I don't know the diameters of the trees. I don't know whether the town requires a permit to remove the trees and what the requirements of that permit is. So I would say consult the other attorney first.
Right. And to your point earlier, these have been trees that have been shown to be removed before, you guys have looked at already. So you were aware that these were going to be gone as part of this. Obviously, they're going to be planting a whole lot more street trees and other things for the bio area.
That's a mitigation measure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're asking permission to get started. In order for you to get started with the work, we'd have to approve the subdivision, and they'd have to get through the conditional approval.
Right, and
So
that's
he needs some
preparing
kind of
bonds and all
preemptive,
that.
he's requesting some type of preemptive approval.
Right. To remove the 5 trees.
Right.
Right.
What's the next step after we approve the subdivision? You still need to go into our town for building permits, right? That's the next part
Well,
of the process.
so the condition, there's going to be a number of conditions that have to be resolved, and a lot of them are legal and getting all the paperwork and everything, so that'll push them past the March 31st deadline for sure.
And March
there's-
31st is the deadline for the tree removal?
Correct.
Right.
There's also the filing of the plat that has to take place, the final signed plat. So there are a number of steps. I haven't reviewed the resolution. I'm not familiar with the the conditions to each phase of it. But there are a lot of steps in a short amount of time.
But what he needs is a mechanism to be able to remove those 5 trees, correct?
Correct.
That's really.
Before
what-
March 31st.
Right, right,
Which may be as simple as a tree removal permit.
okay.
That's not going to necessarily grant you the authority to start the road work until you've
Right.
satisfied
No,
all
strictly
conditions.
Not asking for that.
However, what's the March 31st? Do they start to like mate or navigate or move around? Is it this bad?
Well, I think that's when they actually
Come
move
out of
into
hibernation.
trees
Okay.
from caves.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
So-
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So would it be appropriate to provide a permit to remove the 5 identified trees, which you will mark with the planning?
Well,
engineer?
what do we usually, do you
Isn't that
recall
just
how
the
we
building
normally?
department?
That would
Someone
normally
just
be
came in to
an
do a
administrative
building-
action through the building department.
Yeah, the building department
That's-
would do
I
that.
don't
You
think
would
the
have to
planning
go
board
to
needs
the
to
building
act on it.
department.
Okay,
So,
Because it's still a single lot with,
trees.
with trees on it. If
5
you wanted to,
trees.
if you weren't subdividing it and you wanted to remove those trees, you'd have to come before our building department, correct, Dan? For a tree
if
permit?
it's under an acre. or
Yeah, I
over
think
3
it's-
acres, you don't have to.
There's felling of trees on fewer than 3 acres of
Right.
land is an exempt activity. If-
So it's
But-
still
but
one
there's a con-
parcel, it's still a
Right.
23 acre parcel. So I think Dan, if you can pull up the code section for the tree felling permit, I think the planning board can send a memo to the building department stating that it has no objection to the applicant removing the 5 trees as marked.
Right,
And then the building department can handle the tree felling permit because it's an administrative action. It's not going to cause an issue. You may want to put a comment in there. This does not, absolve the applicant of any requirement to satisfy his final conditional subdivision approval. However, we understand that there's a timeline that needs to be met, and we're not concerned with the 5 trees, so long as the building department approves.
so would we provide the memo or resolution for the building inspector?
No, just a note, basically in
A
memo
note?
form to the building department, stating that even though this project is still before the planning board, doesn't have its final approvals
Right.
yet, the planning board has no objection to the applicant receiving a tree removal permit for the 5 trees as identified on see attached map, in red or whatever color it's identified as. And I think that's just the easiest
Is that
method.
good?
And Dan's aware of it. He works in the building department,
Okay.
so he understands the reasons for it.
All right, that sounds like a good procedure.
I think that's the easiest
I just
way.
want to talk with my board about whether we want to do that.
Understood. No,
So-
I'm not stepping on your toes, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, no, of course not, I know. So, how do you guys feel about that? It's 5 trees, they were slated to be removed during the process. We've discussed this. We've discussed the removal of the trees and the mitigation plan, which involves a series of plantings along the road. They are going to be removed, whether they're removed before March 31st or after November. What's the
Yeah,
back end?
October 31st.
After October 31st. So the only question is whether we're going to allow him to remove the trees in advance. And then, and we also discussed a better control measure for making sure that you're not removing more than what you're stating, which is, we're going to go out to the site with either the code enforcement officer or the town engineer, mark the exact trees from the plan. You'll be limited to, and I would say, give an indication on what day they're going to be removed, so that our code enforcement officer could be there to make sure.
Would a
Absolutely.
bond be appropriate to make sure that they do what we're asking?
I mean, if it happens, it's the problem.
I know.
Bond is only going to,
Right. just
what's the
give
bond
them
going to
money.
do? It's
Yeah,
just going
nothing.
to, yeah.
Can I just ask one? So we have the legal authority to grant that permission to bypass the process to allow that?
It's not even, it's kind of a gray area, because the building department would typically handle such applications
That's why
and
I'm
issue
asking.
such permits. So more so, it's that we're in this area between conditional preliminary approval of a subdivision application and conditional final approval. So there's, if, say you were to remove more trees than permitted, then the property would have a violation against it. Therefore, it couldn't proceed with final conditional approval because it now has a violation that needs to be resolved. And that may, affect how the board, proceeds in granting the conditional final approval. So I don't think it's necessarily a matter of authority, but I just would think that the board should give its, unanimous consent to the building department, because the building department's likely aware that there's an ongoing application for subdivision. So that you're not bypassing the actual procedure and that you're, allowing the applicant to start, they call it prairie building, start to, build vertical structures on the site prior to receiving everything. You're just saying, hey, we understand that this will delay your construction by approximately a year, because once these bats start to move, they're gonna move into these trees, and we can't remove these trees with the bats in them. So you're just allowing them to remove trees early. I don't think it's an issue.
Yeah, the fact that it's only a handful, it's not like the other place.
Right.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Personally.
Again, if they start clearing or grading or anything, they're in violation of their preliminary approval, which will halt the entire process.
Right.
So there's a natural check on that.
Yes, those are good points. I'm not concerned as far as, my concern, I would be more concerned if we weren't close to the end of this process. So make me feel confident. Are we close to the end? We're at the point of drafting a final conditional approval, right?
Yeah, the
So-
technical comments, there's a handful of those, that's it. So there's really,
Yeah, because I'd hate to
And-
give permission and then you're still here before us in November,
Yeah, no.
I know
that's-
you hope we're not, but
No, I think
Crazy
we're
things have
pretty
happened.
close. I think we're pretty close. Would you? Yeah.
yeah, Faye, do you have any
No,
issues?
I just, as long as they're marked and the building code enforcement officer issues the permit, there's a check right there. And, no.
And I didn't mean to interrupt, I'm
No,
sorry.
it's okay.
And that they give advance notice to our code enforcement officer when they're going to be doing the tree removals. For 5 trees, it should be less than a week. It's 2 or 3 days, yeah.
If
Yeah,
that.
if that, yeah. So, all right.
Yep.
So we are going to make a motion to direct to provide a note for a town engineer or a town secretary or planning board secretary to notify our code enforcement officer that we have no objection to the applicant applying and receiving a tree permit prior to March 31st, while we're still contemplating while we're completing up the subdivision plan process.
I would, if you don't mind, also suggest that the building inspector be notified of the schedule of when you intend to take the trees down, so she doesn't go 2 weeks later and sees 15 trees missing. I don't think that would happen.
So, Mr. Chairman, maybe the motion could be to direct either myself or Dan or Cheryl, I'm sorry, I'm blank for a second there, I apologize.
You're going against the law.
I'm sorry, sir?
You're going against the law. You're permitting them to do something before they have the approval, to destroy trees before approval. I just want to warn you.
I think what we were discussing was allowing the building permit to
You've
do.
been burned once by it, now you're doing it again.
It's more of a saying there's no objection to the applicant applying to the building department. Sir, believe me, my job is to represent the town. I'm not violating the law.
Your job is to, I'm sorry, I'm out of order. Your job is to present the law. To me, you're violating the law.
Understood. Noted. I would say maybe to just, direct myself, Dan, or Cheryl to draft a memo for your signature stating the board's comments and stating that there's no objection to the applicant applying for a tree removal permit for those 5 trees.
Okay,
and to your point, attaching the exhibit with the 5.
Yes, that way the building department's
That way
aware.
it's
There could
very
be
clear.
a requirement that there's a notice, the applicant notify the building inspector be permitted onto the property, the applicant consent to the building inspector going onto the
Right.
property after removed to confirm, then the building department can report back to the planning board. That way everyone's aware. And again, if the applicant violates the permit,
Then the trees are gone.
the trees are gone. Correct, sir.
the trees are, excuse me, Bill, please don't disrupt the meeting, okay? The trees are gone either way.
No,
That decision is already made. Bill, please don't disrupt the meeting, Bill. We're having a discussion on the planning board.
Hearing said, what's the point to the public hearing if you decide to do it differently afterwards? You know how I feel about trees and how
I know how you feel about trees. I think you would prefer if we didn't remove any trees, that wasn't decided in this subdivision. We came to a decision that we're going to remove the trees. The only ruling we're making is giving the building department the ability to grant them a tree permit for the trees that were already agreed on removing.
Before the approval.
Before the subdivision's complete, before the subdivision, yeah.
Right, you're doing it before the.
Yes, all right, I hear what you're saying. This is not a public hearing, but we've given you the opportunity to talk. So, but we're gonna, would you allow it? Can we continue our meeting? Would that be okay with you, Bill? Thank you. All right, so do I have a motion to, what was it again, for you guys to?
Direct staff to draft a memo of no objection for the chairman's signature, encompassing all the comments made by the board members to the building department, allowing the applicant to apply for a tree removal permit for the 5 trees as identified on the attachment.
Right, okay. All right, so moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
So you're going to draft the,
I'll draft it. I can draft it and circulate it tomorrow.
all right, great. Okay. All right, what else are we considering tonight? Is that it? So we're going to draft a resolution for,
Yeah.
we're going to ask you to draft a final conditioned resolution?
Yep.
Do we need to do do we normally do it?
You already moved on that.
I thought we moved on the water resources permit. Didn't
And
we?
you voted on that. I believe you moved and voted.
Voted on that resolution as well.
To draft a final resolution?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All
That's
right,
what I put in my notes. Okay.
okay,
Okay, Rob.
all right.
All right,
gonna be a
thanks,
long
everyone.
All right, thank you.
I just want to make sure we covered everything.
You got it.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, the woods at Hemlock Hollow.
Oh, how we switched it over.
Switched it over. All right. Matt Town, engineer for the applicant. So this, we last submitted a few months ago, but we were at sketch plan approval. Well, that's what we're looking for tonight. So since the last submittal, we did tree survey for the entire site. So that's all on there. That was one of the big items. Let's see, each lot is gonna have wastewater disposal system, water supply well, private driveway off Hemlock Hollow. We're pretty far in the health department process, and they've granted us permission to drill a test well. So that's another ask tonight, if the board's comfortable with the project as it is now. It's on lot 2, so it's the one closest to the road. We could actually get to that well with minimal disturbance to the site. So that's one of the questions. Let's see, we submitted a SWIP, which is just a basic SWIP because it's under 5 acres of disturbance. So that, Dan has that. We got a letter of no jurisdictional wetlands from the DEC. So that's been provided. We got a no adverse impact letter from OPRHP. So no archaeological or historic resources on the site. Trying to think of the other, there were some other comments. We got the adjacent property owner's deed plot shown on now. I think that was a requirement to get to to get to sketch plan approval. I think that's kind of the gist of it.
So just for the benefit of our new member, can you just show him the subdivision and give us a, brief description of the subdivision?
So it's 4 lots, it's R90 zoning district. So each lot is over 9,000 square feet. This is the parcel on Mont Hollow Road. This is town of Fishkill, Beekman line right there. So here's the 4 homes.
The total lot size is what?
The total acreage is just over 10 acres.
And you're dividing it into 4 lots.
4 lots, yeah. 2.5, 2.8, 2.4, and 2.1
Okay.
acres. These darker areas are steep slopes, which we're primarily avoiding just a little bit.
All right. Are those, the graphic that's showing it looks like an evergreen tree? You pretty much located all the trees on the site?
Tree survey was done for all the trees. So it's they're labeled on a different sheet, and it shows which ones need to be removed for the development. We did adjust some of the driveways and home locations to avoid specimen trees to the greatest extent practical.
It's like this line of them like that.
Yeah, there was some funny plantings of some straight tree lines, so.
Yeah. All right. Do you guys have any questions?
Not really.
Dan, you want to go over your comment letter?
Sure. Just to recap some of the process that's happened before at the November meeting, we went through the seeker circulation process. So the planning department was authorized to circulate. The board had desired to act as lead agency on this project. The requisite amount of time has passed since that circulation has occurred. So the only agency that responded back was the health department. They had no objection to the planning board acting as lead agency. So with that said, the board can actually declare itself lead agency at this meeting tonight. The applicant has met all the requirements of 130-12 and 138-18. So that said, that would allow for the board to also consider granting sketch subdivision approval. And we went through the standards for preliminary plat. For Eric, for your purposes, once the public hearing is established and set and closed, it puts a shot clock on.
Right.
So one of the things that we've been making sure the applicants have the plans in ready form in order to be able to close that public hearing and then move on that preliminary plat and the seeker determination within that shot clock time frame. So we did a review of the preliminary plat content. There's only a few minor comments on that. So they've done a good job with the plans to date. So we had mentioned that the board could consider setting a public hearing on this one as well, so.
So the first thing is to declare us being lead agency. I would like to make that motion to declare us, the planning board, as lead agency.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Secondly, make a motion to grant sketch subdivision approval.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? You guys think we're ready to go to sketch at this point?
There was one comment in your comment list about the driveway site distances. Still needed to be approved?
Yes, so they provided proof that they meet the requirement per their measurements, but I did want to make sure that the highway superintendent was satisfied with those locations and whether or not the highway superintendent wanted driveway culverts or any drainage.
Do we need to do that before we grant the sketch plan approval?
No, I wouldn't necessarily say so. I mean,
Okay.
it's definitely going to be part of the process continuing forward. And worst case, if for some reason there was issues with the site distance and they either lost a lot or had to change it, you could always rescind and go back and then reapprove the sketch if you needed to.
Got it, okay.
But
Yeah, I don't think we're limited to more, I mean, this doesn't end our
Right.
ability to have further comments on the project. We're just sort of
Just-
approving the general.
Just some new guy questions, so.
It's all good.
Roll
All
on
good.
this. Question, the one lot on the map that's got the shading right by the base of the foundation, I guess the upper lot? No, I'm sorry, upper lot, the top lot, that one right there. The shading, is that like steepness right next to the foundation of the building? Like, what is that?
Yeah, it's a section of steep slope, but, I mean, it's tiny. It's only 2 contours, so it's like this, and then it flattens out. It's only like a 4-foot wide
So in other
section.
words, even though that's what's there, it'll be tapered, so I just don't,
Yeah.
I would not want it to like hit.
I mean, these are the ones you're more concerned about, where it's a continuous area of steep slopes. This is just a really slight rise.
I know, but the contours, the contours and everything are, I can't see the lines, and I just already folded everything up and everything. There's not gonna be a tendency for the water to eventually come down and hit the house, right?
No, I mean, there's a grading plan which shows slopes away from the homes.
That's what I couldn't see from
Building,
here.
New York State Building Code requires ground to slope away from homes for 10 feet, I think it is.
Yep.
So,
All
yeah,
right.
I mean, there'll be grading, there's grade.
No, that was my only question for the sketch, that was it.
The only other one that I saw was a comment about the fire advisory board needing to review it. Again, does that need to be done before we take action tonight, or?
No.
Okay.
We don't formally refer that to them. Normally, you refer to them as like an involved agency. They're interested.
Yeah, it's within the code that the fire department is involved, so we normally just get them involved early in the process.
Okay. So if you could just opine a little bit about how you laid out the property, how you laid the parcels out and the proposed locations of the houses and the driveways, what dictated their locations?
Sure. So, I mean, the septic systems dictated for a couple of these. We did some soil testing around, I mean, these slopes are a little bit too steep, and we did some soil testing over there, and it wasn't great, but this house we wanted to keep in the front to minimize impact. It kind of slopes away down there. This one, there's kind of a clearing here, so it was a good spot. You know, we could get a gravity septic system. Yeah, I mean, they were clearer areas if you look at the tree plan. We tried to find those, and we kind of tried to jiggle the driveways around a lot of them. But yeah, septic systems, we did soil testing all around there, and just found the places that worked the best that were downhill.
So the expansion areas, is there, maybe this is a question for you, Dan. Are they compelled to remove trees in the expansion areas? The trees can remain there.
They will remain, yeah.
I see.
That's only if it ever needs to be built in the future.
Right. And what about this one system that's showing the septic partly on the steep slope? How are you intending to mitigate that?
Yeah, we're gonna have to do some, I mean, it's gonna be graded out flatter, there's a swale uphill of it. This is is kind of a natural, I mean, it's just a natural sort of place where overflow runoff is going to go if you look at the topo. So there's not water running through there, there's nothing like NRI maps or anything like that. It's just that's where water is going to go, so I didn't want to put septic right in the middle of that.
Right. All right, that's, I mean, it looks like you went through, you made some effort to strategically locate the roads and the houses to, you know, not have as much of an impact to the trees or the steep slopes. So that's what we are sort of charged with looking at, you know, in our comprehensive plan and zoning code. So-
Matt, what levels of the steep slopes were you showing on there with the hatching? Was that the, do you have a legend on there that says what that percentage was?
Different plan. It's out of the code. I feel like the code, why is it 20? Is it 15?
So, early on in the code for the early part, and then normally what happens is, once we start getting into a little bit more of the technical review, you'll be referred to 155-53.
Okay.
So that's the steep slopes provision in the code, and there's 3 different slopes ranges there. So that becomes where the board would need to possibly get involved with also giving you a steep slopes permit as well. So as this progresses, you might want to take a look at that sooner than later.
Yeah.
The ranges, there's very steep, extremely steep, you know, so there's 3 different ranges that need to be shown. But then they also need to meet a certain criteria in the width
Right.
and the area of those. So if you have small pockets of wetland, or, steep slopes, then it might not qualify as an actual town-regulated steep slope, but those would be good things to start advancing the plan to show and make sure that if your houses and your driveways, try to avoid them in as much as possible. But the early part of the code does call for, I believe it's 20%, so that's probably what you have shown on there.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table and a second for granting sketch approval. Any other discussion? Okay, I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimously approved. And what else were we,
Public hearing, setting.
Oh,
if
yes.
possible.
I'd like to make a motion that we set a public hearing for March, what would be the date? 19th, 2026.
okay, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. So you need to get reach out to all the neighbors, get your cards in to Cheryl, and
Publication.
publications, you're an expert at it now?
No, in
You-
the
you-
paper.
Yeah, you got to do a publication in the paper, right?
Yes.
Yep,
Yep.
but you're an expert at it too, so.
So the planning department will give you the addresses that are required.
Right, okay. All right, thanks,
All right.
everyone.
You're
We
welcome.
could have those slopes for the public hearing section, so if you can just run those on there.
Okay, next item on the agenda, jet management. Good evening. How are you?
Everybody, my name is William Basharat. I'm representing the owner, Jimmy Trainer. And since the last meeting we were here, we have gone through some changes on the plan to accommodate and to address the comments of the engineer and the town on this. And as you've seen in our submission, we have kind of rearranged the parking lot to make it a little bit easier to comply with the code to the town for as much as possible. And we moved away the cars from the main road to give us enough space to create a landscaped area that is not on the state right-of-way. And with that said, we have been in contact with the state DOT for the Perm 33, for the driveway permit, and they're waiting for us to kind of get a sketch plan from the board. We've gone through the comments, Dan's comments on this, and I think one of the major comments was regarding the lighting plan. And we have decided to change manufacturers, and we've gone with a specialized company that will supply us with the proper lighting, and they have supplied us, and I have not got a chance to share it with Dan yet, a lighting design completely with even a 3D. I will give it to the board. I will also email it to Dan, and the next submission will be fine. Submission, this is a company that specializes in this and gave us completely 100% in compliance with the town lighting requirement on this parking lot. And I think, the comments from Dan, they mostly relate to that, and that should resolve the whole issue. There are a few items, minor, nothing major. We will be able to take care of them on the resubmission, but at this stage, we need your help with getting a sketch plan. This way I can continue with the state DOT. We've been working with them, and we finally, I think, addressed everything that they needed, including the width of the right-of-way. Like everything else on the comments, Dan, we have no objection or no problem with it. We'll be able to meet it. And hopefully this lighting plan, I'll email it to you for further review, that it will meet your requirements.
Thank you. All right, well, let's start with Dan, if you want to go over your comments. Is that all right?
Sure. So lighting, they definitely made some improvements on that, but I had some comments still, so this is going to be helpful to see this. We'll go through that.
Yeah, that addresses all the comments regarding the lighting.
Yep. One thing I noticed right away, I don't want to do it on the fly, but 4,000 K for color temperature. I want the board to be comfortable with what temperature lighting you want to see out there. A lot of municipalities go with 3,000 or 2,700 K. 4,000 starts to get a little bit away from a natural and starts getting towards the blue.
Yeah.
So, 6,000 is like almost very blue. It's almost kind of like these.
Yeah.
So, that's something that, the board should give them input on. It's not, I don't believe it's in our code what the requirement is, but we should at least give them some guidance. If we want it to be a warmer light, we should let them know that.
I will discuss it with them, and if we have to increase it, add one more light fixture to give us enough density, and we'll drop it down to the 3,000. I don't think it would be an issue.
Yeah, normally, a lot of times it doesn't really alter your photometrics much. It's just a different color,
Yeah.
so.
Do they meet the photometric requirements for lighting for?
Well, I wasn't able to tell with the previous plan because it was just the actual singular photometric
Yeah.
for each light.
Yeah.
But lighting is generally additive.
Yeah.
So if I have a 0.5 foot candle coming this way and I have another light where a 0.5 comes together, technically
Comes up.
that's one at the meeting, 1
Right.
foot candle where they meet.
Yep.
So we just had singular lighting photometrics, so I wasn't able to tell how far the light goes from those lights, if there was any spillage onto
Yeah.
state right away, if there's any spillage onto neighboring properties. So that's why I made the comment, just to have a photometric plan.
Yeah, this layout, it really very
Yeah,
accurately
this is much better,
addresses
Ray,
that.
I can tell.
Yeah.
So that'll be helpful. Landscaping, so like Willie said, initially, the existing pavement was shown as basically being what was gonna be there afterwards, but they reconfigured the parking lot a little bit in order to be able to provide a small strip of land in between the backside of the sidewalk and the beginning of that pavement. And so now they've put some landscaping stripping in there. And there was also some voids in front of the building where they were able to put some landscaping along the face of the building. So our town code, particularly for town center, requires interior landscaping within parking lots and things like that. So this is much more compliant now with that. Of course, the species, the planning board should review that. We always have the planning board look at the species, make sure they're happy with those. So those are on a schedule there. I just need to put the sizes of them, the sizes at plan.
We will do that.
So that could be something that they, that they actually look at once they have the size
Okay.
at planting, and then put the mature spreads and mature heights on there as well, and then that way they can understand what it's going to look like
Will
in the
do.
future, what it's gonna look like as soon as it's done in the first place.
Okay. I mean, one of your comments in here was regarding the deciduous tree, if it's alive or not. As far as we know, it's alive. There was a dead tree that was fallen apart, and it was almost fallen, and that was taken down a while back. But
Okay.
the existing one is alive.
That might be what I saw on the street view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's clearly a
Yeah,
deciduous
it's,
tree.
it's,
that's-
yeah,
that's
exactly.
dead as
That
a
was
door.
actually dangerously standing, and Jimmy
Okay.
took it down.
Just to reiterate some of the process, this is a site plan special use permit that got referred because of its proximity to the state road to the Dutchess County Department of Planning. And so they look at our code and then they say, geez, we require in our code parking to be in the rear and all that. This is an existing site. The planning board has been amenable to maintaining that parking in the front. But a lot of the comments that were in the county planning should be brought back to them again for a new letter, in my opinion. So that was with regard to our comment 19, as they've changed this plan, particularly with this concept of putting the landscaping within the parking area now. That'll help with that, with their comments. If they come back with other comments, still again about putting the parking to the rear, we may have to have a vote where we would override their comments by supermajority vote. That's just process. We'll cross that bridge as we come to it. But I'd like to, once the new lighting is on, because lighting and landscaping is very important to the county planning department. So once that's on there, I'd like to recirculate that to the county planning department for their comments. That's really it at this point. I had mentioned in here that if the planning board was satisfied with these newer changes, that they could re-grant the sketch site plan approval. As you may recall, sketch approval is valid and it was only for 6 months, and then you can get an extension up to 1 year. That had lapsed. So technically, sketch approval has lapsed, so we'd have to redo sketch approval at this point. So that would be one procedural item the planning board could consider.
Is that it? That's it? Okay.
Can I ask a couple of questions about the front elevation? So, the structure of the building looks to be staying pretty much exactly the same. You're taking the red brick and just painting it white?
No, it's already painted. It exists this way. It's in very good condition. It's been painted for quite a while, for a long time.
Okay.
It's been painted.
And I'm assuming these are new doors and windows?
They all in excellent condition, and they all insulated, and
So the answer is there's what's there? is-
what's there is staying,
Is
yes.
staying.
Mhm. Everything's fairly new in that building, and it's in very good standing structurally and aesthetically, basically.
I mean, I'm going to just speak for myself. Anytime we have a new application, and we're doing any kind of improvement or anything, I mean, without exception, most of the buildings or structures and everything have been enhanced to make them more town square. When it comes to even Ms. Garrido's house, when you looked at the proposed apartment complex, even what we just did by the library. There's nothing here that it's being enhanced as far as I can see, and because from an architectural standpoint.
If you don't mind, we have discussed this in the past. I mean, this condition, this building has been sitting vacant for a long time and creating a financial hardship on the owner. Eventually, we will be coming with a full second floor on it. Once we have it occupied and we have the capability of refinancing and getting the finance for it, we're not gonna keep it as is. This is an investment building that is going to be enhanced upon, enlarged, and bring it to its full potential. At the last few meetings, we have discussed that, and we kind of, the reason why we go in this route and not staying with the commercial, because we could not rent it as a commercial for a very long time. It's sat vacant. And in order for us to go, we have to go this route. And we said, once that's done, we probably, in no time, we'll be back here with a different site plan and different proposal and enhancement and changing of the building. But at this stage, the finances does not allow us to do more than this. As is, it's a major hardship being sitting empty for a few years.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, but the application that's here and now is what we're dealing with. You can tell me and tell the board what you plan on doing.
From a financial point of view, if we are required to change the facade of the building and change it, then we have to withdraw our application. It is gonna definitely create a major financial hardship on the owner. Major. That he's already in very deep negative
Didn't we
impact,
give some
because we have discussed that at the
some
the
issues?
past few meetings before.
I remember the conversation, I was hoping for at least something. I mean, that's why I was asking for clarification. You basically are telling me, as it sits is how it's
I
staying.
thought we were going to address the facade.
Yeah, we had mentioned,
Yeah.
at least creating
A
what
gable.
appeared to be like a second-story facade. At the
Right.
December 2024 meeting,
Right.
the planning
And-
board waived that requirement for the
Yes,
second-story facade.
because eventually we're gonna be coming with a second floor in no time. Once we have it rented and has an income where a bank can come in there and say, yeah, this property is worth X amount of dollars, we're willing to give you this much more of refinance, and then go with Mr. Trainer is in the construction business, and he is going to do this, him and his son, down the road. It's an investment for a long term. It's not something that they're gonna flip or anything like that. It's going to be part of them, and I think that property has a good potential for that. It has a good potential, and it will be a valuable property to have like a 6-family unit, apartment building, nicely designed, and it will meet the standards of the town center. And that we will be working with you on it down the road. And like I said, it's not gonna be a very long time away, maybe by next year or by the end of this year.
Seriously, I don't know. How much money are we talking about if we change the exterior appearance?
It's gonna take $15,000 to $20,000, and that, nothing less than that. Construction costs these days are astronomical. And for something that is gone down, we're gonna go down and we'll put it up and then take it down. Where the building as it exists, it's very well kept. When Mr. Trainer took this building on, it was a junkyard. I mean, he cleaned it up, he fixed everything, he made sure everything is nice and neat, the lawn is always cut and maintained. The whole building, it really sits very nicely and very well kept, and it will continue doing that, and eventually, like I said, it will be investment into enlarging this building and make it a more lucrative and worth the investment for the family and for his kids.
Where did we land with the sidewalk? Do you recall if that's going in or we're doing it?
That is proposed now on the site.
Correct, we are gonna be doing that, and we're working with the state on that, waiting for your sketch plan approval to continue with the perm 33, and including the permit to extend the sidewalk.
Okay. The layout of your parking changed, right?
Yes.
Because at one point you had it going both ends.
Correct.
Now you come in and turn. I think I like the.
Exactly, it makes it a little bit more.
I think are better, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That also helped add that area where they could put that landscaping strip behind the sidewalk before the pavement.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, this area over here.
yeah.
There's plenty of room to put landscaping, bushes and what have you. But it's on our property, it's not on the state property, and that's one of the major issues that we had when we met on the site, and we had, a representative from the state DOT there too at the meeting.
And they don't want you to put any plantings on there?
No, they strongly prefer not to have any planting on their right of way.
Well, sometimes that planting creates a sight distance problem when you're pulling out.
Also, if it's left untrimmed and if
Right.
it get taller on there, that's exactly one of their main objections to that.
So are you intending on constructing the sidewalk as part of this application?
Yes,
Eric, do you have any questions?
I was saying, just on the sidewalk, it's going to connect to the existing sidewalk in front of Dollar General, correct?
Yes, it's gonna be continuation identical to it as part of the existing one for future part of the downtown center.
That's an important thing. Pedestrian safety has become a very important issue in our town.
We are going by it exactly to the guidelines of the town on that, and we'll do exactly what the Dollar General did.
All right, as far as the plantings, it looks like you're using all native plant species. so
Correct.
I think that's great. I don't like to get too much into telling you guys, you may have preferences on plants, and I don't think it's our job
So
to.
we tried to choose.
We just want to make sure you're planting the plants that will work in that area.
Yes, and they're climate appropriate, that will survive comfortably without, having to worry about them dying every year.
Okay. Katie, you have anything else?
No.
Okay. So tonight, what can we do is, I think you mentioned granting re-granting sketch approval,
Which we
right?
already had.
Yeah.
Right, but it's lapsed.
Right.
All right, well, I'm in a position where I'm okay with moving forward with the project, so if you guys are, I'll make a motion to grant sketch approval.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
I'll abstain. I already made my
I think you
comments.
can, you have to.
Okay. That's 3 and 1 abstention. All right.
Thank you very much,
We'll
have
see
a
you
great
next month.
evening, and then I'll get to you the revised plans soon.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We still have time for comments, and we're going to review it as part of an architectural review.
That's my point. I wanted to see how it's like shit.
Yeah,
You say, oh, it's orange. It's like terrible.
yeah. But we went through this before, and we gave them the relief last time, but I don't, if you want to bring it up again, I have no problem with that. All right, so next item on the agenda is Schindler Potter Lot Line Realignment. Hi,
Hi.
good evening.
Amy Bombardieri for the Schindler Potter Lot Line Realignment from Day and Stegosa. We were here a couple months ago, November maybe, or October. A lot of additions were added to the plan to satisfy the engineer's review letter. And there's really only a couple of things that are outstanding now. The driveway potentially needing improvements per the Fire Advisory Board's recommendation.
If you could just back up to the 1,000-foot view of general speaking.
Sure.
We have a new member here.
Oh, okay. So it's a lot line realignment of an existing 14-acre parcel, which is here, and an additional 0.7 acres is being added to this existing 9 and change acre parcel up here. So the proposed lot line goes along here. So really, this area in here, it's a sliver essentially. And it goes around an existing riding area in the back. And that's it. There's no proposed development or changes to the site other than that lot line realignment. And there's a few encroachments. There's an existing fence that's encroaching, so that would be removed.
Existing what?
Fence,
Oh, okay.
it's encroaching on the property to the west.
I'm assuming that's it right there.
Yeah.
So the fence on the riding area is encroaching, is that what that's?
Around, it's going into the Buddhist property.
0.6 feet,
Yeah.
half a foot.
What?
Yeah.
All right, so Dan, are they clicking off some of your comments here?
Yeah, they have. And, you know, like Amy mentioned, we, you know, expressed the concerns of the fire advisory board about the emergency vehicle pull-offs. You know, our code requires that they're, for driveways that are longer than 900 feet, that they're placed every 900 feet. And I spoke with the town attorney on this, and I don't know if you want to comment on that. It's just,
Yep, so if you can submit something showing that that driveway was established before the code requirements, I'm fine that it's pre-existing non-conforming.
Okay.
There's no increase in intensity of the use of the driveway.
Right.
At some point, if development is proposed that'll increase the intensity, then it will be required to be brought into conformance, possibly paved,
Okay.
and include the emergency vehicle turnoff. But for right now, for a lot line readjustment, I see no reason to require that.
Okay.
Seems inappropriate, but you should write Dan and let him know that the driveway was constructed prior to the code
Okay.
being enacted. That would require the improvements,
Okay.
which I don't think that'll be hard.
I can write a letter.
It's probably easier than improving the driveway.
Definitely.
one of the issues is that greenhouse. Do you know if that greenhouse is movable or if it's something that, because it's 19.6, so the
Yeah.
requirement is 20. So I spoke to the zoning administrator, and the options are either you shift that line to make it so it's 20, or you get an area variance.
Yeah.
Now, the other consideration for that could be, you know, that you have that lot line pretty much right on with the fence. There's other areas of where the fence is going to encroach over that lot line. So there might be an opportunity to have just some sort of an agreement in place between the two properties
Okay.
with regard to maintenance and the fact that it slightly goes over as an encroachment. So I kind of can ask our town attorney to maybe comment on some kind of an arrangement like that, a legal arrangement like that. But if that's something that's allowable, then maybe that line could be shifted just a little bit to make the greenhouse compliant there, so that you're not creating a non-compliant issue that you'd have to go to the zoning board for.
Okay.
So that there's, the other thing is, and it doesn't look like it's very possible, but there is a part of that fence outside of the riding area that goes to, I want to say it's to the east. I think I delineated it in the letter, but I'm not even sure what the purpose of that one is. So if that's a problem with an agreement between two property owners, our code doesn't say where you can put a fence.
Okay.
It just tells you how high it can be,
Okay.
which is, in some ways, that's a problem, right? Because in order to have a fence that's in a decent condition, you may have to go on the other side of the fence to maintain it.
Right.
So it might be a time to try to figure out if there's an agreement that can be made between the two property owners so that that doesn't become a conflict in the future. We don't know who's going to own these properties in the future.
Right.
Whether these two owners may be great friends right now, but we don't know what's going to happen in the future, so.
What kind of fence is it?
What kind of fence is it?
Just like a post fence?
The fence, what kind of fence is it?
You have a short portion of the stockade fence, Plano pine, you know, and then you've got the horse ring, which is the post and barn.
You can come up to the
Post and
microphone.
rail?
Yeah, it's easier if you come up and speak. So really, it's probably a de minimis encroachment. They revised the adverse possession law back in 2008 to accept de minimis encroachment, so I don't see there being a risk of, you know, someone claiming title to your property.
Okay.
I don't think it's an issue. Again, the bigger issue is the fact that the line just makes that greenhouse non-conforming, which,
Yeah.
you know, it's a shame to have to go for a variance, which the town can't create a non-conforming lot with a lot line adjustment, or the planning board can't approve it. But if there's a way to adjust that line a little bit, just to make it conforming, then that situation's resolved.
Okay.
Regarding the fence, if the neighboring property owner complains about it, then you'll have to deal with the neighboring property owner. As far as I'm concerned, it's a pre-existing fence. It's been there for some
Since
time.
the early 70s.
Yeah, I would say it's been there for a while. So again, I'm not going to create an issue out of it. I'm not going to make you move a fence.
All right, so, thank you.
Yeah.
And then just find out about that utility pole. That would be the only worry about what that actually serves, if it's privately owned or if it's publicly owned. And
Mr. Schindler said that
if it's private, then it serves that one lot, then it wouldn't be on that lot anymore, so.
it is tagged by NICEAG. They're being
Okay.
evasive about giving me rights to the easement that they
don't
admit would
like to
be
give up
publicly
information.
filed. So, I don't know, they're protecting the rights.
We actually called them. We actually called NICEAG, and they came and trimmed all the vines. They cut down all the trees underneath the line, so they own that transformer and the lines going from Hines Road onto the property.
They own the pole located on the property?
Yeah.
They wouldn't do that.
So is it changing from 237 to 239?
Yes.
So they would need an easement from you then, likely, to access your property to service, what pole, does it serve both properties?
It leads to a transformer off-site on the
Actually,
previous property.
right where that stockade fence is, we were talking about.
There's a transformer there?
Yeah.
The transformer or the pole? The transformer's not on here.
Transformer's mounted on the pole. It's a
Yeah.
pole mounted, okay, I was gonna make sure there's not like a substation on the property that I'm not aware of.
No, it's one of those.
Okay,
Like
so-
barrels and everything.
that's gonna change property owners, so I would assume NICEAG, to access that pole you're gonna need to grant them an easement to access your property now. They probably have one with the current property owner where it's
Should I
located.
call them?
But that's a conversation you need to have with NICEAG. I don't think they can object to
Yeah, I
you
mean, it's
adjusting
not-
your property
I
line.
don't know that they do have an easement. They're not giving it to me.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just
Sometimes
have.
they don't, yeah.
It could be so.
It's old.
that I ran into this on a different subdivision. Central Hudson was very forthcoming and told me,
I mean, if you need them to fix it, you're gonna invite them onto your property, so they may not even wanna bother with an easement.
right.
But either way, I would just make sure that it's not gonna affect them. I don't think it will affect them.
I was more concerned if it was a privately owned pole
No.
that served the site that it's no longer on, because
No,
then
it's-
you wouldn't have control without an easement to fix it.
That's a good point.
So if it's a NICEAG pole, I'm much less worried about it, let's put it that way.
Okay. I'll get the tag number. It was just, there was a lot of snow.
Yep.
That wasn't, all right.
Any other comments, Dan?
No, I mentioned in here that if you were comfortable with that, I mean, probably a little adjustment or a little jog that you won't be able to notice with your eye on the plan.
Right.
So if you're comfortable with that, you could grant a sketch subdivision and have her just make minor adjustments to that line.
Makes sense.
And then, these little lot line realignments, sometimes they, because they have to meet with the subdivision code parts, that they take a little bit longer, but if that's the case and the board is generally satisfied with the discussion on the fence and the utility pole and the driveway, you could consider scheduling a public hearing. I didn't put that on here, but if that's something that you're
Did they have
willing-
sufficient information that we won't anticipate it changing enough that, we can schedule a public hearing?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that would change would be that driveway, in which case, I guess you could always go backwards in the process if you needed to, but I would assume that driveway's been there for a very, very long time.
I think too, the sketch plan may change just slightly based on the side yard setback.
Yeah.
Proximity to, so I don't know how the board typically treats such things,
If that shift would be it wouldn't even affect the area. I don't think it would, it'd be so minor.
Probably not,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, the way I've always viewed sketches, we're reviewing the concept of it, and then we still have a right to continue to comment up into the preliminary plat, and then even after that. Now, preliminary plat then sort of significantly limits our comments for the final subdivision. You can't make them go backwards after preliminary
Correct,
plat.
yeah.
But we still have a comment period too. So I'm prepared to move forward with the sketch. Are you guys
Yes.
comfortable with that?
I'll make a motion to grant sketch subdivision approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And at this time, I'd also like to schedule a public hearing for March 19th, 2026.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously approved. All right.
Thank
Anything
you.
else?
Can you just try to advance as much as you can with any requirements on preliminary on that? The 130-20 preliminary plat?
Sure, yeah.
There's not going to be a lot more requirements because most of it's on there. But just go through 130-20 as if it's a checklist and just make sure all that information's there.
Okay.
Just looking at the 1936 aerial, that driveway was there then.
But it's gravel, I'm assuming it was dirt for a long time. I assume it predates the code, however, you should, the applicant's burden to kind of show that.
I assume 1936 predates the code?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it almost
Looks like it used
predates
to be an
all
orchard
zoning.
back there too.
But, you know.
Christmas tree
it's
farm.
the applicant's burden to put in the submission stating, look, the local law was enacted on this date,
Right, got
the
it.
driveway was constructed based on this aerial imagery on this date, pre-existing.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Hollow Haven Solar Project. Good evening.
Good evening to you all. I'm Jeff Matron with EDF Power Solutions. We met back in October at our pre-application meeting. Many of you joined here with Ray Darling. He's with Collier's Engineering and Design. He's been leading the design efforts for the project so far, and I was hoping I could just maybe give you a little background about our company for the public, and then go into some project details that I put together, some notes on that, and then open up to any questions you all may have. To give you a little background about EDF Power Solutions, we are one of the largest developers of renewable energy in North America. We are comprised of 4 different divisions. We have a grid-scale power group, which originates, develops, and constructs utility-scale solar projects. We have a distribution-scale power group, which I'm part of, and we develop mid-size utility-scale solar energy projects. We also have an on-site solutions group, which develops on-site storage, charging stations, and energy management systems for institutions and corporations. And then we have our asset management group, which oversees the operations and maintenance of these projects. My distribution scale power group has over 25 years of experience developing these types of projects throughout the U.S. To date, we have engineered, led procurement efforts, and construction of about 635 megawatts of projects. We've also developed and constructed over 16 gigawatts of renewable energy projects, and we're currently managing about 13 megawatts. Each project that we build creates about 20 to 100 temporary jobs during construction, and we're currently operating in over 27 states. In New York alone, we've developed approximately 20 projects to date, and that's about 60 megawatts. 5 megawatts are currently under construction in the state. We have about 1.5 megawatts in development, and we have about 41 megawatts already online. This project will be part of the New York statewide Solar for All program, which provides low-income households electricity bill savings by sharing the discounts generated from community solar projects. And the program's free for eligible utility customers and automatically applies some monthly bill credits to those customers on their electric bill. You're automatically enrolled if you are in your electric utilities energy assistance program, which in the local area would be NYSEG. The utility manages customer acquisition and bill crediting and provides bill credits to eligible utility customers on their monthly bill, as I just said. And now, if I could get into the project details, This parcel is located at 57 Greenhaven Road in Pohog in the town of Beekman. The parcel is zoned C3, which is mixed commercial light industrial. And just for everyone's reference, in 2019, the Town of Beekman Town Board unanimously passed the adoption of Section 155-43 to the Town Code, which is a solar ordinance specifically allowing for large-scale ground-mounted solar energy systems like Hollow Haven as a permitted use in C3 districts, with a site plan approval and a special use permit. The project has been designed to meet and/or exceed each condition of that ordinance. It should be the design that you're looking at now. And if I could just highlight a few of the permitted uses that are allowed in a C3 district without a special use permit, that would be an auto body shop, an equipment or sales yard, funeral homes, government buildings, light industrial facilities, light manufacturing facilities, motor vehicle accessory sales facilities, motor vehicle sales facilities, vehicle service facilities, printing and publishing services, and self-storage centers, just to name a few. Also, uses that are allowed as permitted uses with the special exception would be condominiums, townhouses, adult establishments, building material sales yards, hospitals, hotels, kennels, laboratories, lumber yards, mineral extraction, motels, motor vehicle rental facilities, office buildings, restaurants, drive-throughs, tattoo parlors, and wind turbines. Hollow Haven Solar is going to be a proposed 3-megawatt alternating current project, a 4.5 megawatt DC current, which is a direct current project, and it will produce about 6.7 million kilowatt hours per year, which is enough electricity to power approximately 1,000 average New York homes' energy use for 1 year. The project...
How many homes? I'm sorry.
1,000.
Okay.
1,000 homes. The project will utilize approximately 16.83 acres of a 43-acre parcel of Greenhaven Road. The property is, it's currently primarily open field and it's being currently farmed for hay and rye. The project has already undergone a NICEAG interconnection study completed in July 2025. And the current design, which you're looking at, consists of 4.5 megawatts of direct current panels, which I've already mentioned. And I'd like to add that modern commercial solar panels do not contain sufficient hazardous materials to pose a danger to the environment and/or human health. The primary component is crystalline silicon solar cells, is in crystalline silicon solar cells is silicon, the second most common element on Earth and found in most consumer electronics, from cell phones to computer chips. Solar panels are designed and manufactured to withstand harsh environmental conditions and extreme weather events. These hardened structures protect the solar cells from the elements and support plans to keep the facilities operating for 30-plus years. The site will be monitored 24 hours a day, and if a panel is damaged, it will be quickly replaced so that the plant can operate to its highest performance. Other components include string inverters, an approximately 771-foot access drive, a fixed knot agricultural fence surrounding the solar array, 7 feet high. We plan to use the existing vegetation which surrounds the site to screen it, supplementing the few open areas with additional plantings. We're currently planting 17 deciduous trees, red maples or swamp white oak. I think the designs that you're looking at, those are showing at 1 3/4 to 2 inches. We're proposing 80 evergreen trees, either red cedar, Black Hill spruce, white pine, or Virginia pine, 6 feet high. 76 large deciduous shrubs, either Allegheny serviceberry at 3 gallons, northern spice bush at 3 feet, staghorn sumac at 5 gallons, and nannyberry, viburnum at 3 feet. The panels will not exceed 10 feet high per the ordinance. The project has an 80-foot rear yard setback, 86 side yard setback, and will be set back 34 feet from the front yard. The project will only cover approximately 14.1% of the lot. The allowance per the ordinance is 50%. The project...
I'm sorry, how much percent will there be coverage
About 14.1% of the lot,
of the lot?
yeah. And where the ordinance allows for 50%.
Okay.
Per the town of Beekman solar ordinance, we will also submit to the town's decommissioning requirements. A completed plan was submitted to the planning board as part of this application. Leading up to the planning board hearing, we held a community engagement event at the Beekman Rec Center last Wednesday evening. Several of you were able to attend, thank you. Inviting local neighbors within a .36 mile radius of the proposed project to answer any questions that they may have. And just FYI, the one neighbor that showed up that had the most concern about the screening, we had our our landscape architect go out and visit with them this afternoon, so they're going to put together some photo sims to show the impact of that. And that's all I have, so I will open it up to any questions you may have. As I said, Ray Darling's here to help out with some of the engineering questions.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for your outreach to our community and setting up a community meeting. I think it's important that you speak with especially the neighboring residents.
Absolutely.
We've been through this process a couple of times, so it's not our first solar panel consideration. I can tell you that, we are we like to consider ourselves a pastoral, rural town, and we're very concerned about any developments that could potentially be aesthetically displeasing. A lot of people move into our town, they enjoy the rural feel, the rural character.
And FYI, I have those images with me that I had at the meeting for your colleagues, if they'd like to take a look at them when we're done here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, thank you again for reaching out, and also for specifically reaching out to the neighbors that are close to the project.
Absolutely.
So, I'm sure we'll have a lot of questions. I'm sure the community will have a lot of questions if and when we get to the point of a public hearing. But for now, we're in listening mode. We want to see what you're proposing. We want to make it, we want to have all the information possible to make our determination on this development proposal. So I'll just start with some questions, and then I'll allow some of my board members to ask questions. First of all, just confirm, does this application include battery storage in any way?
No, it does not.
Okay. I just want to make that clear and make sure that everybody understands that. The benefits to the local community as far as the energy save, these panels, are the electric they supply, will that be shipped off to another community? Is that for our local community? How does that
That will
work?
be used locally at the Sylvan Lake substation, about 0.6 miles from the substation. So the electricity will tie right into the substation and be pumped into the distribution lines in the local community. So the electricity will be used in the community.
Okay.
That said, as part of this State Solar for All program, members throughout NYSEG can subscribe to this if they're part of that program. They get the discount, but the electricity will be produced and generated and used in this community.
Okay. So there has been discussion, or I've read people who've mentioned the potential for contamination. Obviously, these are synthetic materials, and while we all carry that in our phones and stuff, we're spreading out over an entire, portion of a farm, and next to a stream. So naturally, we're going to be, worried that there could be any leaching from these panels or of, synthetic or materials that could potentially contaminate the soils or the waterway. Can you just speak to that as to?
Well, the panels themselves, they're made with tempered glass. They have the silicon wafers inside, pressed sandwich inside that glass, with metal frames surrounding each. So I think, and aside from that, the way our sites are built, we'll take I-beams, typical like steel I-beams, they're driven into the ground we mount our racking system, and then we put our panels on top of that. So I think in order for there to be leaching, what would have to happen basically is you would have to take one of the panels, put them in a blender, and turn the ground over to get them leaching into the ground. Aside from that, as I mentioned earlier, our sites are monitored 24/7 remotely. If a panel's not damaged or not producing, each section of the site is monitored daily. So we would quickly be out to the site, have our technicians out to the site to replace those panels so that the project operates at its optimal capacity, which is how we make our money. So we have a vested interest in doing that.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So if, you mentioned about a blender or anything like that, if there was a storm system, we have storm bursts, they call them as they come in, hail, heavy wind and whatnot, you get a hailstorm against a whole plethora of glass, how's that gonna go? Because as far as I would be concerned, you'd have glass particles, glass damage. I've got to assume, I mean, again, everyone's got cell phones. Part of them being put together, I'm assuming, is with solder of some sort and whatnot. So these are the types of things, and the fact that there's an aquifer overlay on this property. Aside from that, you've got galvanized. I work with construction materials for cell sites. Galvanized over time, zinc discharge. So there's a lot of things that I don't necessarily agree with the characterization that it's so far-fetched, because as the stuff drops to the ground, and in some fashion or another, if this is returned to a point where it's back to farmland 20 or 30 years later, you got to put something in the ground, like using the example of like a potato, silicon or not, it's going to grow around it, encapsulate it, and that's in there now. So the question becomes of, like, the concerns of that and everything, how to mitigate that. How do we mitigate that? Because if later on down the run, if things are all removed and we're at the point where we're trying to restore it back to farm or something like that, the bond and a lot of this decommission plan refers to the amount of money and everything to bring everything back to normal, but it doesn't say anything about what we would have to do to potentially clean it up if there was stuff into the soil. There's nothing in there about this.
Well, again, we haven't really dealt with that problem before. I mean, these aren't liquefied materials. And again, everything's placed within the encapsulated within the glass panels. So, and again, these are monitored 24 hours. If those panels aren't operating properly, they will be replaced so that the site operates properly.
But again, like if we had an event like that where you had like hail.
Well, they're designed to withstand hail. Our projects are designed to withstand hail.
Okay.
The panels are designed, I could get you more information from the panel manufacturers that we use, if that would help.
No, for sure. I mean, again, it's initial questions, right? So, I mean, the questions of a lot of these things, I mean, you got to remember too, it's not just us up here. You got folks
No, I
here,
understand completely.
and there's a lot of other folks that have a lot of similar concerns.
No,
So as-
absolutely, and these are questions we deal with all the time.
I'm
but,
sure.
yeah.
And then there's other type facilities that were put in 20 years ago now that are coming offline, and these types of things are being brought up. So that's again why we want to have the discussion now. Also, these are supposed to be articulating, rotating units to change direction for the sun.
Yeah, the racking systems, yes, so they're called, yes, so I think when we were on the site yesterday, you saw the site plan, and the panels are facing east. That's because throughout the day, they rotate
To
follow the
maximize their sun
Exactly.
exposure. What's the noise level with these?
Very minimal, it's about this, the refrigerator running.
A refrigerator times how many units at once? Because if one refrigerator isn't a big deal, but if I got 100 refrigerators, it might be more noisy, no?
I don't have the actual decibel level, but I can get that for you.
Okay. And you're saying that you expect the life cycle, again, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm
go ahead.
running.
I want to just make sure you ask all
The
your-
life cycle on this, you're saying is 20 years, 30 years? What's your expectations?
35 to 40 years.
35 to 40?
Yes.
And at what point would you know that they're at the end, just by the amount of electricity that they're producing, energy they're
Yeah,
producing?
well, they're designed to last 35 years, 35 to 40 years of panels.
Okay.
Is that everything?
I think that's initially what I had.
Okay, go ahead,
No, I
Faye.
have a question, and
Yes.
it's more curiosity.
Mhm.
How many panels are you putting in?
I believe it's probably 7,100?
Okay, and this is currently vacant property.
Yes.
Is this improvement taxable?
I believe you asked that question
I
last
know,
time.
I never got an answer.
Well, so you all entered into a pilot agreement with the previous solar project, so we would offer something similar to that with the solar
And
project
what
down the
was it?
street.
I
I believe it's 60, I have a copy of it.
To your question, Faye, Beekman removed the Section 487 solar array exemption through its code. I can get so it would be taxable without a
So the
pilot.
value, increased value on the property.
Of the panels is taxable,
Would be, but not property tax.
not the actual real property. It's
That's what I'm
the
curious.
increase in the panels is additional tax.
So there's no benefit tax-wise to this project?
Yeah,
for
because
the
it's an improvement, so
But, I mean, not to the town coffers.
that depends on how it's assessed. I'm not a tax assessor, so I just know
I-
that. So there's a default tax exemption for solar arrays through Section 487 of the real property tax law. Beekman removed that. So that means the solar exemption doesn't apply to its real
Okay.
property because it's to predate the connection, the interconnection to the utility, which it seems to have. So the increase in value of the property, because it's also an ag district,
Right.
the increase in value, and this is confirmation by the assessor, would be taxable to the town. What those panels are assessed at per panel, per array, I don't know.
Right.
The gentleman's proposing it, he can continue as a pilot agreement, which would be a payment in lieu of taxes. So rather than be taxed, they would negotiate an agreement and a fee, rather than the assessment based on how the town would do so.
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thanks.
Do you have any other questions?
Not at the moment.
Eric, do you have some questions?
Yeah, just, kind of piggybacking on what Jason was asking, that, some of the comments and concerns with these types of projects and other places is the effect on wildlife, particularly birds, possibly colliding with the panels because they're the reflection and all that.
That's never been an issue. In fact, I remember 3 years ago, I had a case and there was birds on the Autobahn's webpage, there was birds sitting on our panels. So, yeah, it's never been an issue. They're not high enough off the ground. Like I said, they won't be higher than 10 feet, so.
What about effects of wildlife for, ground mammals, migrate through the area?
Well, we'll be utilizing fixed out agricultural fence with slits that any critters could crawl underneath if need be, so.
How
I
high,
guess-
how high would the fence be?
7 feet.
And it would be agricultural fence?
Fixed out agricultural fence is what we typically use.
Fixed not okay, fixed not, right. Oh, I'm sorry, how high?
7 feet.
7 feet, all right. So I could see deer getting over that, but is there spacing at the bottom of the fence?
We could put spacing at the bottom of the fence, yeah.
Yeah, all right. That's good to know. I didn't know if you finished, Eric. Did you have any other questions?
I don't think so. I'm looking through my notes, but
All right,
Go ahead.
well, I do. So let me, you think about it. If you come up with one, let me know. Can we just go over the decommissioning plan?
Yes.
And how that works? So in the event, I think you had said 30 or 35 years.
Correct.
There's a plan to decommission and remove all the panels. Is that automatic? Do you reserve the right in 30, 35 years to replace the panels? Can we decommission if the panels are not being used any longer or they've been abandoned?
Well, I think it's part of your-
What triggers the decommission?
Well, we have an agreement with the property owner first and foremost, but then part of your ordinance is establishing a decommissioning plan, putting a bond in place, and I think there's a time frame within your ordinance, I have the code here somewhere, that if it's the project's not being utilized for, I think, 6 months or whatever the time frame is, you'll have the right to remove it using the bond itself. But yeah, as of right now, no, we're only contracted, our contract would be over with the property owner by then, so we would have to. I mean, I guess in theory, we could reapply and come back to you all at the end of 40 years to rebuild the project or update it, what have you, I don't know, but yeah, the project's only designed.
Oh, so it terminates, you have a
Yeah, we have
term,
we have a term with the property owner, yes.
and then at that point, if the property owner doesn't want to continue,
Correct.
you remove all the panels? you
Absolutely, yes,
restore
part of
the
our
site?
contract with them, yes.
Okay, so to what extent is the removal? Obviously, you're removing the panels and the structure, but are you removing the conduit under the ground? Are you removing
Yeah, we removed
footings?
the conduit under the ground,
Everything, all of the conduit, the cabling, everything that was just called out in there.
Yeah?
Yes.
I mean, is it to a certain depth, or is
To
it
36
in total?
inches typically is what we do it to.
What about compaction?
Well, I think you all had a question last time. I mean, typically, like, I guess if you were going to build a building, you want to see 95% compaction. Ideally, we wouldn't want to compact it that much, and it sounds like you all would prefer that we didn't, so, yeah, we just, I mean, we're effectively, we'll grade it out to meet our tolerances for the racking systems, and then we reseed it and reestablish the ground, but, yeah, we ideally wouldn't want to have to compact it to the standards to build a building on it, so.
Yeah, no, it's more decompaction, again, if it's going back to farming, that's what I was asking.
Right. Yeah, we had discussed, at the pre-app meeting, I recall you asking that as well, so.
Okay.
You mean if we decommission, are they going to finish up with scarifying the soil?
Right.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to the sound thing for a second. So I had brought up the thing about the rotating arms and that sound. Now, I know correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not the expert, so I'll defer. But the inverters too make noise as well, right? So.
They don't really make any noise now.
Oh, that's what I'm trying to ask, because my understanding, at least, again, I tried to do as much, quote, research as I could and looking up. So I had two concerns to ask about specifically. You have the rotating motors and what they're going to produce times the number of them that are out there.
Right.
And then the inverters as well. The idea is that there is a humming noise that comes from this. I only say this is because there's one down 55, and if you get out and walk, and I've been out there and everything, you hear a general humming noise. So neighbors are going to be there. You already spoke to one neighbor about it. I'm just curious what that impact is going to be, because in that area, certainly flat and everything like that, people are going to be exposed to that, so I'm just trying to get
I can give you decibel levels. We can get it studied and get decibel levels of what the actual volume would be.
Perfect.
And you could relate it to, so I'll start working on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Faye, I think you wanted to ask something?
No, I'm good.
You good? All right.
I guess the question would be, you're coming in with your panels that you
Yes.
say have a 25 to 30-year lifespan. What happens, what process is if you have to remove the panels because something better's come, something more efficient, and it's economical to remove it because you're going to get more out of
Right.
it? Is that something that could happen?
Well, I guess in theory, yeah, it could, but is your question more along what happens to those panels? Is that?
Well, I'm sure that they're disposed of, not down. I mean, just like anything, you have
Well,
a disposal.
we recycle most of them, we resell them. There's outfits that go, there's value to the panels.
Okay.
So, yeah, we would sell those or recycle them.
But is there a permitting process to renovate it or reconstruct it because something better is available?
Well, we typically wouldn't, I mean, unless the panels are destroyed, we would just leave them in place. They're designed to last a certain amount of
Okay.
time, so.
All right.
So just a couple of concerns that I have. Number one, it appears as though you're placing the panels and maybe some of the other infrastructure in the floodplain area. So I'm quite concerned about that. Floodplains, to me, aren't just storage of water. They tend to be environmental ecosystems, and we want to make sure that we're not having any impact to local wildlife. The riparian buffer adjacent to the streams, and so I am concerned about the impact to the floodplain. Number two, I'm concerned about basically the backfields are divided by a hedgerow of trees, and there are quite a few trees in there. So I know you're making an attempt to save maybe the back, I guess that's the northernmost part. But there would be quite a lot of tree removals. I'm all for environmental benefit projects as long as they're not costing the environment. So, that's just another concern that I want to just express at this meeting.
Could I speak to that, though? Because that is addressed in the solar ordinance itself. You're allowed to remove up to 15% of existing vegetation on site, and what we're proposing, it's around 5, I believe. I think we have I have the numbers here, but yeah, I think 5.4% of the existing vegetation is all we're going to be, and that's not including the substantial trees that we will be adding. So.
Right, I mean, we would expect any trees you're removing, a mitigation plan, to...
Is that calculation just the trees?
I'm sorry?
Is that calculation just trees?
No, that's the existing vegetation, total
Yeah, because it's vegetation is the way it's worded. So
vegetation.
brush, everything counts.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Did you want to speak to the floodplain, or just take
I didn't.
take my...
No, we got your approval letter, or review letter, before we got here, so we haven't had a chance.
Yeah, apologize for the timing.
Digest all the comments yet, but
Yeah.
we will look at that.
Move up to the podium, please.
Sorry. Yeah, we will look at that to see what those comments are, of course, and start looking at them, addressing the drawings that are for the drawings here. But we will have to look at and see what the floodplain impacts would be where the panels are shown now. Review the code that you have to see what is allowed and what's not allowed, and what mitigation measures we can have to add to it to make sure that we're not, affecting any of the wildlife that are in that zone. I believe we're outside of the 75-foot riparian buffer, however, but we are showing it in the 100-foot or 100-year floodplain.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and just so you know, our code is the minimum requirements that we have. If we were just ticking this off like a checklist, I suppose you can meet our code requirements, but because this is a public process, we like to have, we'd like to express our discretion or apply our discretion on what we think would be the most appropriate modifications that will have the least impacts as we see them on the board.
And we can look at the layout that we have now. Again, this is a preliminary layout of the panels. We do have, based on the acreage of the property, we do have spots where we can move the panels away from that 100-year floodplain and put it elsewhere where it's not in the floodplain, and yet still meet the criteria what, the company for solar is needing to have minimal for, to get their wattage. So.
Right. And I'm gonna refer to you in a minute, Dan, but the only other thing I was gonna say was, the landscape buffers. We did go, in the last application, we spent some pretty significant amount of time on talking about the landscape buffer, and because that's gonna help us sort of mitigate the visual impact and also mitigate the loss of trees and stuff. So, I think we're gonna I appreciate your first attempt at it, and I see that you're making a very genuine attempt to provide landscape buffer plantings and also provide images that will allow us to make give us more information on how it's gonna look. But I just want to say we're going to expect a pretty robust, landscape buffer. And then the only other thing I was going to say was, that I wanted to ask, do you know have you studied the soils of the site? Are these prime agricultural soils? I had taken a quick look, and I believe the backside of the site is soils of statewide significance. I think that's what they call it, soils of statewide importance. I don't, so they are, it's important for us to know, because there's very few agricultural land left in our town, and it's constantly under pressure and being converted. Once you develop a site and destroy the potential for future agriculture, those soils are lost forever. And so they're a resource for our town, for our county, and our community. Will this be irreversible, Will we not be able to revert this? Will we lose soils? What are we doing to protect those soils during construction? That sort of thing.
Yeah, we'll look at all that. I believe we submitted information on that that will comply with the New York State Ag and Markets in regards to what the soil types are, and if there are special soil that are prime farmland, we have to identify that, and we'll have all that in our procedures, in our design. And I believe when the soils, yes, we're putting the new solar panels in, but we're going to minimize the disturbance of the soil as the installation goes in. We're not going to be going and, grubbing and digging the entire site, and hauling away prime soils. We're just placing the panels on the posts in the soil.
Gotcha.
The soil stays there. Minor grading to make it work. Some stormwater improvements have to go in, gravel diaphragms as shown, but the soils do not get hauled away and replaced with item 4 gravel or something like that. It stays there. Those soils stay there.
Yeah.
So.
And you're doing, obviously, we require this in all our projects, erosion control measures and stuff to prevent the
full SWIP,
sedimentation.
as Dan had saw on our submission that we put in there. We comply with the DEC for the general permit. So.
Now, what does this applicant, this may be a question for our attorney or for the engineer, what does this do with the current application that was approved for the spa? Does this proposal overlap the previous proposal, requiring that previous proposal to change? Does that previous proposal expire?
It's expired by now, because it had gone to preliminary
Right.
approval. It had never made the finish line.
Okay.
They were working on financing.
Financing was the big issue with that, I think.
Yeah. So since then, our code, if I was to look at it, I'm sure it's expired by now.
Okay, that answers that. All right, so Dan, do you want to go over any of your comments?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think some of them are just piggybacking on some of the things you said, but, one of our big code requirements is fully screened from view from all adjacent properties and roads at all times and in all seasons to the greatest extent practicable. So they've provided a number of photo simulations. I hope that you guys have had a chance to take a look at some of those. The photo simulations have a little key from where the perspective of the angle of the shot was into the site. A lot of them show, the existing condition, then the proposed condition, and then some of them show the proposed condition with additional vegetated screening in there. One of the things I would ask for is new photographs taken during winter.
If I could speak.
Yep.
So our landscape architect actually met with one of the neighbors this afternoon, and he got some images today. So he's going to be working, put some photo sims together with today's conditions, so.
Great.
That'll be helpful, because most of those trees that are out there are deciduous right now. So there's no leaves on them, and I'm sure they're a little more visible than the photo sims that we have now, so. But if the board, this is an opportunity for you to also, if you know of a certain view shed that wasn't analyzed and you want to see that, make sure you ask the applicant and they can provide that for it. So the wetlands, there's a letter of no jurisdiction, which was kind of odd. There was a little bit of an odd statement in it about checking back with them at some point in the future. I didn't really understand that. Are there state wetlands or not?
There are, there's state wetlands on the property down in the one corner. I think they've got it identified in here.
Is it Plan South?
Plan South, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
All right.
It's a
Because I
Palestine emergent
saw
wetland.
those wetlands had a 100-foot buffer on them, but I didn't see that they were listed as a state-regulated wetland on the map.
Which are you referring to?
Yeah, that's probably about where it was.
This
right?
is a state-regulated wetland here.
Okay. I didn't see that it said that on the map. I may have missed it, but I did see the 100-foot buffer that was shown on there.
Yes, this is a state-regulated wetland.
Okay.
We'll add a label to that to make sure it's on.
Yeah, just to make sure that we know that. But the other wetlands, you have to run through our code 155-52, make sure that there's not a water resource permit required. You mentioned about the 75-foot buffer on the water course. We do have regulated buffers on certain wetlands as well. I'm not sure if the wetlands that are delineated on the site in the pockets where some of the solar arrays meet the size requirement to be regulated. Of course, that doesn't mean from an environmental perspective, even if it's not regulated by the town, that the board wouldn't consider impacts to those wetlands. So there's solar panels right in those pockets of wetlands right there. We have some concerns on the runoff. You have a hot day and then a storm runs through and you get that first flush of runoff. It's going to be hot, I'm assuming, as it runs off the solar panels.
This is never, we reach out to some specialists on this. That has never been an issue. I know it came up at the pre-app meeting too, but you have to imagine, I mean, it's over 100 feet, I think, from the nearest panel down to the river.
You actually have panels in the wetlands. So my question is, if those are intended to stay wetland, or I'm not even sure if you graded in those areas, because I know there's some grading exercise in here as well, but if those are gonna still be wetlands underneath the panel, then that water's running directly into there. And there's certainly an opportunity for, certain creatures that like to use those wetlands. So want to make sure that that's considered. I don't know if you have any, if you can provide us with any evidence of the temperatures of water that might change from runoff on solar panels so that we can understand that a little bit better. But obviously, anytime you get this close to riparian buffers and wetlands, I'll have concerns with that, especially with that thermal potential. But obviously, the other point with that is, just whether or not you're disturbing wetlands to put solar panels.
So where are you saying there are the wetlands?
There's a pocket of wetlands.
Was this based on a previous delineation when they were doing the other development? I know there's this one here. Oh.
These are all wetlands right in here. And then there's a pocket right there. So
Okay.
I'm looking generally after the crossing, after you cross the stream on the left-hand side. So there's some wetlands there, so there's some panels there. So just want to make sure we understand, again, regardless of whether or not it's a town-regulated buffer or wetland that would require a water resource permit, it has to go into the consideration, the environmental determination when we get to the seeker process. So you should really just take a hard look at that and make sure that you're, trying to do as mitigation and as much as you can, or avoidance would be best. Yeah, I mentioned about the 100-year floodplain here as well. I just don't, I don't support the concept of putting structures that could be impacted by a 100-year floodplain, whether or not that's chemicals or anything that could run off. It could be, if these things come off and go downstream, that could create a flooding a problem on somebody's property. So just some of the things to think about with that. So I'd ask for the base flood elevations to be shown on the plans, assuming that the datum is tied into the same that was used for the flood insurance study. And I think you can get those right from the flood insurance studies from FEMA. Endangered species, Indiana bat and bog turtle were noted on the mapper, so just do some addressing on habitat suitability, whether or not you have any evidence that they're there or not, and mitigation proposals for those. You mentioned the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets guidelines for the solar energy projects. It seems like that can be used in a number of ways on whether or not you're going to keep perimeters that are still going to be farm or agricultural purposes. It also provides a mechanism for testing for nutrients that are there today before construction starts, compaction, using penetrometers to make sure that you know what the compaction is now. And the thought is again, if this is going to get returned to agricultural, I would certainly prefer and want that ability for it to revert back to agricultural in the future. So that's good data on there. But when you put it in a plan set and you summarized it, which is generally normally okay with me, but in a case like this, there were some of those things that didn't include testing for those nutrients and the compaction, current penetrometer readings and whatnot. And it says that the contractor shall become familiar with these guidelines. I don't trust that. I'm just, I've been around contractors enough to know. So if there's any way that we can enhance those notes on the plans to really capture a lot more of that and be very specific on what has to be done. The pervious utility access road, there's a note on there, and I know this has become a relatively new DEC thing. Ray, you might be able to talk about this a little bit more, but it can't be located where the construction access road is.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that. I mean, we're using the construction access road to get into the site, and then once we're in the site, now that's our impervious road begins and continues. And we're following an existing road that's there. That bridge is already existing in the road to it. So we're basically using the same path or route to, and improve it to the pervious road. But if, we'll check that again if we have to have the construction entrance be off the side of it, a different location from where the final road will be.
Part of it seems counterintuitive to me, but I understand that's where the DEC is going with this.
Yeah.
You can't have the stabilized construction entrance in the same place as
So
the...
it's the actual construction access road, so while they're bringing panels in and doing any grading, there's, large vehicles coming back and forth, compacting that area. The DEC has a specific specification for pervious, which is going to be there afterwards. So the construction access happens, then they rip that out, and then you put the pervious access road.
Yeah.
The concept always was, well, decompact the heck out of that area after you remove it and then put the pervious road. Now they're trying to get away from that, and so just some clarification on that.
Yeah,
would be
we'll
helpful.
confirm that. We have seen that with other projects.
Yeah, it's something relatively new that they're, because it's actually the DEC spec, but then I think over time they've realized that people probably didn't properly remove it and properly decompact. So the idea of this pervious access just wasn't happening.
Right.
So,
Yeah, gotcha.
so let's just take a good look at that. Fire Advisory Board met on this and discussed a number of things. They wanted to make sure that there was an understanding of how those maintenance of the access road will be during winter months. Will it be plowed? That type of.
They typically are plowed, just for maintenance and, are you saying you need that shown on the drawings?
Yeah, we would prefer to just have that all delineated right on a drawing. That way it becomes part of the record for the site plan, and, because, obviously a lot of people aren't going to be able to, will refer just to the site plan. So the more notes and requirements that we have on there, the better. The perimeter access around the fence, they wanted to know about the frequency of the maintenance on that. And they also mentioned there's a few areas there where the grade just completely drops and comes back up. So if that could be graded at 15% on the outside of the fence, so that they can do perimeter controls of fire control for brush fires and whatnot, wetting down the outside perimeter. You had mentioned remote access before. We know with the other site, they actually have a way to shut down the system remotely. So what they were doing was they were putting a placard on there so that if the fire department got there and there was a fire in or around the panels, they could call that number instead of actually pulling the switch and shutting it themselves. They could call that number and they would be able to remotely shut that off. So if you could just take a quick look at that, if that's how your system's gonna be. And what they did was, again, they put a placard right on there with a phone number, like fire department, call this number if there's an emergency. So the access drive standards are shown on there, but the fire advisory board was concerned with the adequacy of that bridge crossing. So we know it's going to be.
We have that study, we have a structural assessment of that.
Yeah, so just if you can provide that.
I can provide that.
And also just consider the term of the project. So, you know, maybe not just hey, this is what it's capable of now, but also, you know, if the life of this project is 30 years, what's that bridge going to be like in 30 years if they can kind of project that out? That would be helpful. I'd prefer if you just gave it as a submittal that the whole board could have as well. Just the first turnaround seemed a little small for their fire vehicles. They were wondering if that could be improved there. Wanted to make sure that they had a verification of the height of the overhead wires. Our code requires 14-foot minimum overhead clearance for the fire department vehicles. And then the second turnaround, which is after you make the stream crossing, was within the gated area. So they would literally have to get out, use the Knox box to unlock the gate, open the gate, get in there to turn around and get out. So, and there's no way they're going to want to back out of that site. So they were wondering if that could be on the outside of the fence so that they didn't have to do that. They were also concerned with just the 100-year floodplain, what that meant in terms of the height of the bridge, the equipment within it. And they would like to conduct a site walk. I don't know if this is going to be the way you're going to approach this, but they said post-fence construction, but before the panels were started. I almost assume that you'd probably have the site perimeter done with the fence first so that there's no people going in there and doing damage. But they'd like to see that, probably more because of making sure that that access road around it is already graded out a little bit to the point where they can make it through. I just also put some notes in here about full environmental assessment form. There were a couple of discrepancies with regard to the actual soil disturbance between the documents, so just want to clean that up a little bit, but from my assessment of 617.4, environmental conservation law, it seems that since this is an ag property, that it would lower the threshold of the physical alteration of 10 acres down to 2.5 acres, which would trigger this as a type 1 action. So I'm going to ask our town attorney to maybe dig into some of those that I put in there and verify that at some point, but that's my preliminary assessment on what the classification for seeker purposes will be.
Okay, great comments, Dan. Thank you. All right, are there any other comments from the board? Any other questions?
Not right now,
that you want to have? All right, so I think that's a lot to swallow. We've asked a lot of questions.
Yes.
Again, thank you for, reaching out to our community. Clearly, you're making an attempt to locate these in the appropriate zone, in the appropriate area, because it's near the existing, there's already a solar panel farm right next door, so if I'm putting on my planner hat, it's usually a good thing when you do that. So there's a lot of genuine attempts here, but there's still a lot of questions. I don't know that we're ready to move on any actions tonight until we get some more answers to these questions, and you address some of our concerns.
Would we be able to request that you consider declaring a lead agency to start that process, or at least the...
So for type 1, it'd be a coordinated review, which would mean we'd be sending around all the materials to other agencies, and if we're talking about some of the more big picture items at this point, and things that might change around a bit, so, and also I noted that there was a couple of discrepancies in there with the EAF versus the plans, so, I want to do a full technical review of that, but I also didn't want to spend a lot of escrow money on that at this point without having a good feeling that the planning board had a general acceptance of the layout. So some of those bigger issue comments about the riparian zones, wetlands, all that kind of stuff, I think it would be more appropriate to make sure that those are, my advice to the board would be that it would be more appropriate for that to be addressed before we go into that circulation process.
Okay, that's fine. Yep, just wanted to ask the question. All right, so we will look at those comments and take everything you said, to review and get back, and then resubmit some modifications to the plans.
Okay.
Thank you.
Terrific. And I just want to thank the public. I know several people came out tonight to hear, this proposal. You're very concerned. Obviously, you love your community. And, this is just the beginning of a process. We're learning what's being proposed here. And I just want to assure you that you'll have your voice, you'll have your chance to speak. I know it would be nice if you guys could speak on every subject at every meeting, but we have a process, and the process is for both, to protect the community and the applicants. But just be assured that there will be a public hearing, and you'll have every opportunity to voice your concerns, and we'll make sure that happens. And thanks for coming out tonight. All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, final
Final one.
the Lennar Plum Court Lot 9 adjustment. This is just an extension. Do we have the, okay.
Are they here?
Yeah, I don't know if Adam was coming. Adam is the attorney for the project, Adam Leckstein. I think it would be appropriate if I try to just give a quick history of this, particularly for you two. Oh, yeah. I mean, we could just announce and ask if the attorney is here, but.
Is the attorney for Lennar Plum Court here? Is there anyone representing Lennar Plum Court Lot 9, number 9 here?
It seems negative.
Doesn't look like it.
I would say no action at this point if they're not here, no?
Tell them to stop chatting.
Well, I want to hear what Dan's going to summarize. Do you want me to?
Yeah, no, I'll give you a summary of.
I would just wait till...
Yeah, it looks like they're exiting.
Well, it's obvious what they were here for.
Place cleared out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Knew what they were all here for.
So there was a subdivision, Plum Court, which is generally kind of across the way right over here. When it was constructed, for whatever reason, things were shifted. And it wasn't found out until after most of the improvements were made. So they came back to the planning board at some point around 2011, I want to say.
It's a long time ago.
And they corrected the right-of-way and the lot lines for all but one lot. And the reason was the one homeowner just didn't want to participate, I believe. At some point, they've still continued to try to get this corrected. So there's an odd right-of-way, there's a jog, and there's some weird stuff going on. But at some point, they ended up working with Sweeney, who is the owner of that, and is an applicant with this lot line realignment with the Lennar folks. Lennar was the original developer on this. So they came in and were able to now correct the lot lines associated with that one lot. There's some easements, there's some other things. And the planning board, I would classify or say, was very receptive to that. Really super low impact project. It's just moving invisible lot lines really at this point. And what we've gathered is we had given, or I should say the planning board had granted a approval relatively quickly, and they've been working towards just finalizing some of those conditions. But one of the big issues apparently is that there might be some lien and mortgage issues there. So they're trying to work some of that out with the banks and the attorneys. And so, Michael, in your world, this is just going really slow. That's what I'll basically summarize it as. And they've come in for a number of extensions, and I don't believe it's because of a lack of trying. It's just kind of working through. So the last time they were here was November 20th meeting, 2025. And the planning board granted an additional 91-day extension, which brought them to tonight's meeting date, February 19th. And, per their letter of January 27, they're asking for another basically 90-day. And probably would have been good to hear from the attorney for the co-applicant, who was going to be here in the stead of the preparer of this letter, but.
Who's the co-applicant? Is this part of a sale? Are you trying to sell the property?
Well, Michael Sweeney, which is one of the property owners.
So there's multiple property owners?
He's the one property owner, and then Lennar.
Is the adjacent property?
Right, with the right-of-way and all that.
Okay.
And they own a couple of the properties right next.
So, for the board's knowledge, 276-7C allows you to extend for 90 days a conditional approval if you determine that there's a reasonable justification to do so. With other municipalities, a lot of times what happens is they submit the extension request and then no one shows up. So that seems to have happened tonight. It's your decision whether or not to grant the extension request. Given the circumstances, I'm not familiar with it. However, what I do advise is you notify the applicant that if they apply for another extension request and no one shows up, you won't consider it and it'll expire. It just keeps the feet under the fire. Someone needs to come here and tell you why they want another extension. I'm not saying any mis or malfeasance is ongoing. However, you need to make a decision and they need to provide you information for you to decide. Even though Dan gave a great run-up of it, it's not really the town consulting engineer's job to, argue on behalf of the applicant. I have the same issue with town attorneys. They ask me questions all the time. I tell them I can't give you any advice. I'm not your attorney.
If we don't grant the extension, they could always reapply.
They would have to reapply for the condition, for the approval,
Right,
subdivision approval. They have to
Start from
restart the
scratch.
process.
Yeah, great summary and great advice, thank you. I remember this. The attorney came in, he was very genuine, he was very deliberate, and he was very efficient as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Normally, I do like them to come here and explain why it's late, at least give us a status and how they're trying to rectify the issue. But this is in our interest to keep this moving because you're trying to rectify a parcel issue. And if we start over and then they drop it, we're headed for down the line, another guy's gonna come and say, hey, I bought this house and the lot line's screwed up.
Right.
So I have no problem moving it forward, especially since my experience with that attorney, he was doing a very good job and he was being very genuine about fixing the problem. So I have no problem.
I think it has to do with finances more than.
Yeah,
banks,
I'm sure.
right?
Yeah, that's what
And
they've
that's-
indicated to us at this point with this letter and actually what he said at the November meeting. I remember him specifically saying about just issues with the mortgages and the banks and the attorneys on all the different sides there. And, to your point, Rob, this has to do with a right-of-way that's gonna be, the town's right-of-way for maintenance of that road too, so.
Yeah, we want it fixed.
So I'll make a motion to
Well,
grant,
well,
oh, go
I think
ahead.
Jason-
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I mean, I don't have a problem with the motion as long as we put it in there that they gotta show next time.
Right.
That's the only piece I would ask that we put in.
Eric, did you
Make the
have a
motion.
comment?
No, I was going to say the same thing, just make sure they come next time, so.
Yeah.
And so, Michael, this could be something that you might disagree with or correct the board on before, but what we've done is we've taken a look ahead at some of these things sometimes, and we realize that 91 days, for example,
You're
would bring us
limited
to
at
an
90.
actual meeting date.
Board's limited at 90.
Okay, so
Dated.
we haven't been acting well on
It
that.
expires
but-
today, so dated tomorrow for the next 90 to start. That way it's continuous.
Okay, because then if we did 90 from today's date, that gives us until the one day before the May meeting. So the May meeting.
Yeah, that's an issue, but the statute says 90-day increments.
Right.
So the planning board doesn't have the authority to grant a 91-day.
Is it if they ask for the extension before the 90 days is up, or is it?
No,
does the
it's when
board
it
have to act
expires.
On it.
So that's what I was saying. Today, it expires today, the
Yep.
91 day. So for there to be continuity, if you date the extension tomorrow, will that take you to a day past the next meeting?
It'll take us to the next meeting.
To the next meeting.
Yeah.
So that's perfect.
Dan, I don't want to break the law, okay?
No, I know.
I want this
I brought it up
straightened out.
because I just wanted to be.
No, and I understand it.
I'm feeling,
New council. and I
I'm feeling
just
like
wanted
we're
to-
on the cusp of breaking the law.
It's the oddity of, no one's gonna come kick in the door, but if someone were to sit there and say, hey, you couldn't do that, they're right, you couldn't do that. You can't supersede the state
Can't you
law.
make 180 day, I thought we've extended it for 180
So there's
days.
180 days for conditional final subdivision approval, 280-day extensions. What when they revised it the problem was, there was a very harsh rule because you only had 1 year to satisfy all the conditions, but if you're doing a 100-unit subdivision, or you just have a site plan approval, sometimes you can't, you have to wait for
Right.
the county to respond. So what they did was they granted the approval board a discretionary extension of 90-day increments with no limit. You can do, I've seen towns where they're in their 30s.
Oh, all right.
But there's sometimes sometimes you run into a remediation, you run into issues with the state, you run into with federal permitting for like federally regulated waterways.
So how do we do 90 days and that lands on, where we don't have to, where it doesn't land right before the meeting?
But we would.
Date it for tomorrow or something?
You would grant it tonight,
Dated.
effective tomorrow.
Effective tomorrow.
So that'll run you to the next meeting, and hopefully that'll put you back on the schedule.
All right, I'm going to make a motion to grant an extension for the Lennar Plum Court Lot 9 adjustment for a 90-day extension effective tomorrow. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And you had mentioned about a condition of the applicant being at the next meeting.
That's just an email saying, hey, if you guys don't show up
Yeah,
next time,
okay.
we're not
We
going to
won't give
consider
it to
your
you.
extension request, and it's going to lapse.
Knowing Adam in the past, he wouldn't rely on somebody else showing up again after this.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, that's odd, because I know the
Yeah.
attorney they listed, he's a really great guy, and
Yeah.
you may have experienced him before, and I don't know what happened, but
Yeah.
I would CC him, and you can CC me, and then the
Gotcha.
attorneys can talk if they need to.
Sounds good.
I've run into this issue before, many times.
Sounds like
Well,
it,
thank you for not being a criminal, Rob.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for, helping me.
Let's see, who made the motion and who seconded this?
Right. Do I have a motion to adjourn the
Oh,
public
God,
hearing?
yes.
Yes, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye? All right, thank you, guys, it was a long night.
It wasn't that bad.
It's only 10 o'clock.
It was worse, I thought it was going to be worse.